back with another episode of Costume Co. And today I have a special guest. His name is John. He's one of my buddies on the Creatives Guild. Hello, John.
Hi, how's it going, Heidi? Buddy, I
We're
like it. I like it, buddy.
Hi, every.
You are awesome, and I am so appreciative. Yeah, you make me feel like I
Hi,
have.
everyone.
You
It's
make me feel like
Heidi
I have a
back with
friend.
another
Just
episode
because.
of Costume Co. And
Wait a sec.
today I have a.
Your link is live. I just heard your voice. All right, very good.
Oh,
So,
okay.
no, I just want to.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that you make me feel like that I'm wanted, I'm loved, because I've been sitting here in my studio for basically 5 months alone in this damn pandemic, and it's like nobody loves me, nobody comes to visit me. No, I'm kidding. I've got like a couple people come in, but overall I don't have family and stuff. I'm not married, stuff like that. So I've just been chilling here. It's nice to see you.
It's
Just
lovely to
just
see you as
just on
well.
the just on the screen, just to see, because we haven't had Creatives Guild in a while. I haven't seen it. It's nice to see you.
We
You're my
haven't.
friend. You're my colleague. You're my buddy. You're my
Yes.
pal. I love it. I have these dumb Zoom meetings where I hate, but I love doing these kind of things because it's like, I don't know, we talk about stuff that we're interested in, and it's good to see you. You make me happy, and I haven't had this rush in like 5 months, so I'm feeling like the feeling of
I'm really
camaraderie
excited too.
again.
So,
I've literally been stuck down here,
yeah.
but
So, for anybody who doesn't know, what happened was we were supposed to have a live stream last night, but we
oh.
had to postpone it because poor John lost his power for like a second time, I think, right? You said?
Yeah, forget about the lockdown and stuff. We had a huge hurricane a couple nights ago, a bunch of trees down and stuff. I live in a little bit of woodsy area, so the power went out, power went back on, went back out again, internet went out. It sucked. And, we live with internet like 24/7, and I didn't have internet for like 8 hours, and I'm like scratching my neck and freaking out and taking long drives trying to figure out what to do. I didn't have internet for like 12 hours, but yeah, I couldn't do the stream yesterday, so apologize for that.
Oh
It's
my
nice
gosh.
to
No, I
nice to
totally
see you,
understand.
Mother Nature got the best of us. If you are listening, folks, and you're on the East Coast, you probably are experiencing it because they called it Hurricane Isaias. That's the name they came up.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. That's an interesting name.
Yeah, they like to name. I don't know where the name came up. Yeah, Hurricane Isaias. So it ransacked the whole coast. So
Yeah.
still hundreds of thousands of people in my state without power. I'm good here. We postponed the stream one day, and
Yeah.
I'm happy to do it because your channel's great. You're my buddy. I love that word, buddy. You make me happy just by saying you're
It's
my
a Canadian
buddy.
thing, maybe, to say that.
Oh, I love
So if
I love
anybody
Canadians.
doesn't know who you are, do you want to introduce yourself?
Well, I'm clearly very happy. So no, so my name's John DelVento. I don't have any tag or anything like that. Just my name. I'm a music composer. That's what I do mainly. I got my piano and everything here. I do music for reality TV shows mainly. I do a lot of shows that you might watch on late night TV or stuff like that. I write a lot of jingles and things like that. I haven't been too busy lately in the pandemic. A lot of production has been stopped. So in my as a hobby, I love to analyze fantasy music and talk about musical structures and production, and I'm a bit of a nerd and stuff. I like to geek out. So Heidi and Rebecca and I, we have Creatives Guild, which we do on the side, which we analyze these type of things. So I focus on the music, but we also like to ramble on about whatever too. But my mainly what
Yeah.
I do is music, folks. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's not as big as Heidi's Costume
Well,
Company,
and I have, and
not
we've
yet,
got, we've
but I
got
would love
your,
a subscription.
we've got a link to your channel on the ticker, everyone. So you can check him out there. I just learned how to use that. I was explaining to John. So as you know, we're learning these technologies. John, are you finding with the pandemic that you're learning more technology than you would have normally, like with having to, with the Zoom you were just mentioning?
Yeah, I kind of gave Zoom a hard time. I've been kind of anti-Zoom lately. I've been telling all my clients, because I have probably 4 or 5 meetings every week, and they're all fucking Zoom, and it's making me go crazy. So I've been telling everybody this week we're doing Hangouts or FaceTime or whatever. So I've been getting used to it. I mean, I'm actually next week I'm doing an actual recording session remotely, which the technology has existed for years to do that. I've just been really uncomfortable doing it. just because I always think something's going to go wrong. I like to have somebody in my studio to record, but next week I'm doing a recording session remotely where the guy's just going to do it, with video conference, and I'm not comfortable doing that, but we're forced to do
Yeah.
it. So I've been forced to learn new things, and I've been doing more streaming and stuff like this. I changed my camera angle. If anybody
Yeah,
watching actually knows
one of the
me, my
first things I
camera
mentioned
angle
to
changed.
John when we started is I'm like, John, I love your new setup. It's really great.
I
Yeah, and
appreciate it.
yeah, and then you get to see your beautiful orange walls, which I love orange. It's one of my favorite colors. And
Yeah,
also,
it's just me here, so I gotta make it colorful and nice. But
yeah, that's your space, right? Is that where you do all your work, all your composing?
this is where everything is done. I don't have the piano on tonight and stuff, but yeah, everything's done here. I write all the music, and nowadays everything's electronic. I mean, everything is with computer, and you
Hmm.
could email an entire symphony, which is amazing. And a lot of the TV shows that we talk about. And Rebecca, our other partner, is an editor, and a lot of the technology that all of us use are the same exact pieces of technology that the people on these major networks are using. So it's cool to just see things from that lens, that how much you can compose on the computer. Right now, if you watch Agents of Shield on ABC, one of the big shows, we're not talking about that tonight. They weren't able to record live orchestra this season, so
Yeah.
the composer's actually recording electronically, which is like a first, which is pretty intense. But I'm listening to it every week, and it sounds great. So I do everything down here, and it all works well, and it's cool. I can
Yeah.
always
Now, before we get started, so tonight we're doing NOS4A2. I wonder if some people
yeah.
don't know how to say it correctly.
I didn't
Have you?
even I didn't know at first because I wasn't into the books, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
Nosferatu. But I thought it was like a code name or something at first, like NOS4A2. But yeah, Nosferatu when I properly
Yeah,
got
I
into
mean,
it.
I knew Nosferatu because, of course, there's a movie which is, and they even did a movie about the movie, which is supposed to be about this guy who was like a vampire. He's supposed to be a vampire, like the one you see like creeping in the shadows. It's like from the 30s or something, or maybe the 40s, but it's black and white. And then in the behind in the sort of the movie about the movie, they have it that he was actually really a vampire. I don't know. So, anyways, but that's when you see the guy with really creepy teeth and the long nails. So I'm assuming that's what the author was sort of riffing off of. Was that? I think it's Murnau or something like that. I can't see the chat, so
Yeah, I
I
noticed that. So I did just sneak over to YouTube myself. So I'm gonna engage with the chat
yeah,
like
there's
that.
something
But
going on. I can't get in. So John, if you see anybody that you want to do a shout out to, can you say a shout out to them from me too? Because I can't see any of the chat.
yeah, folks are straggling in. I know my girl Rhonda's here. It's nice to see you, Rhonda. That's great. Peter
Hi,
Griffin.
everybody.
Yeah, that's great.
Also, Rebecca, who is the third in our threesome, which sounds sort of terrible for me to say that threesome. She's our part of the Creative Guild. She said she might pop in and sort of moderate the chat for us tonight. And she's also going to be on next week. And her and I are doing True Blood, sort of keeping in with that vampire theme. And I said to Rebecca, I don't know if you saw this, John, but I told her, I said, Rebecca, we should dress up like vampires and drink like, bloody cocktails. Like, she's like, yes.
She would
So,
do that. Yeah.
so we might
This
do
is
that
what she
next
would
week.
do.
We
All
might
right.
dress up like vampires next week. And I might do like Bloody Marys or something because that's keto, because I'm doing keto.
And I'll get to moderate the chat because
And
I
you
have a
can
wrench.
moderate.
You gave me a wrench. Holy shit!
I gave you a wrench. Yes.
I'm gonna
Yes.
kick all
So
all
now,
10 of
John,
us
before
out.
we go, before we get going, I just wanted to let everybody know that one of the things I'm doing right now, any Game of Thrones fans, is I am doing a 6-part series. I think, John, you know this, about many of the prequel characters from Game of Thrones, like from the books, The Song of Ice and Fire. And I'm doing that with Tatiana and Vanessa. They're my 2 co-producers. They've been working so hard. So what they've been doing is because there's not a show to look at costume wise. So we've been finding all these really great artists online through DeviantArt and some cosplayers, and also just some of the concept art, like in A Song of Ice and Fire, World of Ice and Fire, that type of thing. So we've got the next one's coming out is going to be about the prequel women's costumes. So that's going to be amazing because we're going to have Jenny of Old Stones in that. And we're going to have oh, we're going to have Lyanna Stark. So that's going to be really exciting. So I just wanted to let everybody know that that's what we're doing. So do you want to, we were sort of talking before, do you want to, we'll just do maybe like a little bit of a once over about the show for anybody who is
Sure.
just coming in. We're doing NOS4A2, just to let everyone know there will be maybe some spoilers. John is doing his best, but there might be some spoilers. This is what the poster looks like. It's very cool.
Yeah, I'm really, really going to do my best to eliminate the spoilers because I know that this show isn't as big as I think it should, to be honest. I mean, right now we're in season 2 and it's got some action on Twitter and stuff like that, but it's a very kind of grassroots show, even though it's AMC. But I got into it kind of out of nowhere. You know, it was kind of, you know, post Game of Thrones anxiety, but because I don't want to spoil it too much because I think a lot of people may have not even seen it and maybe they want to go check it out. But you know, there might be a few moments, folks, but I'll try to be as general as possible because it's a great story, you know, just for basic filmmaking, great acting, great story, great set, great music, just all the basic things that we all talk about. You're gonna get it, and right now it's by far my favorite show. Just for stuff like that.
Sorry, I was just gonna say
song, of course. You know,
oh yeah, hold on a second, John. I was just saying I'm able to now see the chat here. So Rebecca's here, Tatiana's here. I was just talking about you, Tatiana. Shade of the Evening, Louise Brooks, and Randa. Hi, Randa. Peter Griffin. So we got a nice little group here happening.
I love
so, John,
it.
did you want to start with the music? This is a wonderful thing about knowing a composer.
I'm not going to play it, but on my piano, but you know, it's just a Christmas carol. That's all it is here. So. So right when the show starts, you get this kind of creepy Christmas vibe, right? And the whole concept of this story is about this Christmas land, is this kind of creepy, even spoiler free, just this creepy Christmas world, and you get that from the music at first, which I really liked it. It's Carol of the Bells, you know, dun 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 dun. It's Carol of the Bells, and they just
There's
give
a picture of Christmas land.
They give it a haunting vibe. So yeah, there's the image there, and I play the soundtrack behind it. You know exactly what's going on here.
When I first saw it, I didn't know if Christmas Land actually even existed. I thought he might have just been making the whole thing up. So I was kind of excited that there was actually Christmas Land, and I really wanted to see it.
Well, there were so many mysteries, and season 1 is like a lot of unsolved mysteries. Season 2 now is great because there's a lot of answers, and it's like a straightforward narrative. But yeah, season 1, it's a lot of mysteries. You don't know what's going on. I don't even know what I was getting into. I didn't really dig the show in the beginning, honestly. I didn't know if it was sci-fi, if it was mystery, if it was teen drama, if it was horror. I didn't know what I was getting into, and it's really good about it. But for me, I always listen to the music. The music to me is like a horror. It's horror music, and some of the clips I'm going to show tonight as part of my presentation, I mean, you have some really horrific music. So musically, I got horror. In the intro, we have some scary horror. We have darkness. We have snow. You don't really know why Christmas is there. So, there's some familiarity. There's some real world, there's not like monsters and stuff, yet. So, right from the opening, it drew me in. And if you can draw me in with music, that's usually a good sign because music for me is number one.
I had a bit of a, like when I first watched it, actually Jack said this to me because Jack and I watched it together, as we all often do. It kind of had a bit of a Stephen King feel about it, mainly for me because there's children seem to be central to the story in many ways. And that seems to be a Stephen King sort of, trope, I guess. What do you think about that, John?
Well, yeah, I mean, no, it's a good connection. And there were so many clips I kind of wanted to show, but it's just like there's that kid element in there that you don't want to spoil it, but you don't want to get to those uncomfortable moments where it's like where do you want to show a kid getting brutalized on camera? And it's not like there's a lot of that in this kind of show, but there's a presumption of something sinister having to do with kids that just really messes with the human psyche, and it makes a villain so universally hated when you figure out what's kind
Yeah.
of going on. And no, I didn't actually make the Stephen King connection
You know
until
what?
now.
Rebecca just said that the author of the book is Stephen King's son.
See, I didn't even know that because
Yeah.
we said this before we started. Is I didn't get into the books kind of deliberately. I'm into the show. I didn't even look up anything in the books. I kind of wanted to keep everything separate for now because season 2 I've heard is even diverted, but I didn't know that, and that's fucking crazy. And it makes sense. There we go. I
Yeah.
promise you, folks, we didn't plan this secret conspiracy where we're all going to make good points behind each other's back. Where Rebecca's going to throw us a softball, and we're
Yeah.
going to
Well, I
make a
guess
profound point.
I thought, like, because Stranger Things, which obviously is sort of honing in on Stephen King, not honing in, but like a homage to Stephen King. I guess I was sort of thinking that this is what this was as well, like a little bit of homage to Stephen King. So he must be so tickled that his son has a series.
It must be. I mean, he must be so tickled and so financially successful. I mean, I think of the money.
Maximum Overdrive, yeah. So Rebecca was saying it's a Maximum Overdrive. I think is a Stephen King movie and book. I thought Carrie, or sorry, not Carrie. I thought Christine when the vehicle being an actual, because I thought originally when I watched it, I thought Charlie Manx was controlling the car, but really it's its own thing in a way.
It is, yeah. No, Carrie's is an interesting perspective too. Just because you have that kind of where does the magic come from kind of question. Mm-hmm. And that's always the fun question. That's what I always like in these mysteries. Where does the power come from? I mean, like, what is this? Are we going satanic here? Are we going witchcraft, wizardry? Are we going aliens? Are we going, where are we going with this? And I think Stephen King does have a lot of that satanic stuff going on deep down that it might not be obvious, but it's there. And you get you don't really get a lot of that in NOS4A2, but some of it's there. And I think that kind of delicate dance from a teen drama to a story of a single mom and a dad, and you could dance between all these different characters because the lines are so thin. And then you have basically a pedophile, and then you have a strange janitor. There's so much going on here, and to wrap it all together, it's great. And you have, in my opinion, one of the best actors on TV right now. It's what we see here is amazing, and it's this secret little show on Sunday nights on AMC. So I'm excited to share a lot what's going on. But
in Canada it's on Amazon actually. That's how I'm watching it. So if anyone's in Canada, you can watch it there. So it's AMC in the States then?
Yeah, AMC, that's a network, cable network. That's interesting. And then it's Amazon. But no, it's got that coveted Sunday night spot, which is nice,
So did you watch it like weekly or did you binge watch it, like wait till the end and binge watch all of it?
So I'm on season 2 now and I'm watching it weekly. I'm going episode by episode. And I did for season 1, I did week by week.
Oh, you did? Okay, yeah.
Right online. Yeah, I did it online here. My cable provider does online.
Oh, okay.
So I do week by week. I like that experience. It's pretty.
It is kind of nice because then you can kind of think about it in between episodes. This is the thing about binge watching is that you're not always able to sort of absorb it in between. Like I'm watching Umbrella Academy right now, and we're kind of like we are kind of doing a couple at a time. But sometimes I think I need a little bit of time to think about it.
Well, no, and that's why I like this show because that's kind of why we connected, right? Because Game of Thrones is a show that's very conducive to theories and having your own ideas and stuff. And this show is also like that. It's very conducive to what the hell's going on and thinking. I didn't really find like there's a huge fandom or anything, but it was a show that I was able to like sit and like think about what's going on. And I didn't look up the book or anything or go on Reddit or any of this shit or anything, but I thought, what's going on? Like, what is this map? What is this? And I like shows like that. I think that's what makes fantasy great. That's what makes Game of Thrones great, especially. Yeah. That's what makes, you like Westworld. I haven't gotten into Westworld yet, but I think that's what makes Westworld great. A lot of these shows is being able to create something in between every week from, being a viewer. And NOS4A2 is great because the freaking director, she's on Twitter, Jamie O'Brien, and she tweets every day. She engages with the fans, and she's asking feedback, and she's shouting people out. So it's in between episodes, she shares clips and kind of dangles the carrot to her fans and stuff. So it's cool to have that weekly separation for multiple reasons. So
guys, I was just going to tell you, for some reason now we're using StreamYard. Now they're starting to give me your comments. So I don't know what is going on tonight. It might just be busy for them. Louise asked if I'm going to do the Umbrella Academy. And actually, I'm going to let you guys know, there's only like, I think 9 of you here, that I'm going to be interviewing the costume designer. So that's going to be really exciting. So I think that might be next week I'm doing that. And I have yet to kind of work out how we're going to do it. Like if we're going to do like a video chat, or I'm just going to do an email questions type of thing. So I'm really excited. So yeah, if anybody's watching the Umbrella Academy, I'm almost done season 2. And then I love the handlers' costumes as well. They're amazing. So John, let's get going.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
What do you,
and I do,
I'm going to let you lead. John's going to go through okay. So how we're doing this is John has 10 things, like, and you're going to do one an episode. Last week with Tony, we just sort of did it very casually. He's like, oh, I feel so stressed by the structure. And I'm like, it's okay, dude. Don't worry about it. You don't have to do the structure. But John's like me. He likes to have some order.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a stickler, with I'm a little bit of stickler with those kind of things. So yes, I do have some clips, folks, and I do appreciate everybody coming in. I know we had to reschedule and everything, but this will be a cool one, because my top 10, basically how I did it is that season 1 has 10 episodes. So I just got a short clip from each episode, basically, like not my favorite clip, but a clip in each episode where we can kind of talk about a little bit what's going on, just a short clip and all that kind of stuff. I just want to make sure that you could hear the audio and everything on it.
Yeah.
So
Carrie, no, the series hasn't just started. They're on season 2 right now. Personally, I've only seen season 1. Rebecca has seen season 1. John's on season 2, but it's not done yet, right? John, how far into season 2 are they?
Yeah, season 2, I guess maybe like episode 8 or episode. I mean, we're getting there. Yeah. So season 2 is on right now, Sunday nights.
And starring Zachary Quinto, who everyone knows. He's fantastic. Of course, he's in American Horror Story, and he's in Star Trek. He plays Spock. He's in all kinds of things. And I knew him from Heroes. I loved him in Heroes. I don't know if anybody in the chat ever watched that show.
No, but I've seen him in American Horror Story.
Yeah.
Of course. Star Trek. I mean, he's one of these classically trained actors. I mean, he's just good at whatever he does. And he's not a method actor or anything. He just kind of does the job. All right, episode 1. One thing that I really loved about this show, it reminded me a lot of the neighborhood I grew up in. And this is a very New England kind of towny neighborhood, lower.
Yeah, which was another reason why I felt like it was like Stephen King, because his settings are usually in Maine or something.
And let me know if you can hear the sound.
I can hear it.
Got it running?
Yeah. You know what they say about Hollies, Brad?
Yeah. They hardly ever run.
How's the cleaning biz? Keep an eye on your mom?
I don't understand why people can't clean their own houses. I mean, Mrs. Brewster doesn't have a job. Her kids are in school. Like, what?
So right now what you're seeing is just, the mother has a cleaning business, and Vic, the main character, young lady, is helping her mom with the cleaning business. And this is like, senior year of high school. Her, she's talking about college. Mom wants her to join the family cleaning business, and Dad really just doesn't give a rat's ass, and he's just cleaning the cars. And, Vic, she kind of likes that. She kind of likes that Dad is a little carefree and kind of figures it out. I mean, Vic kind of wants to go to college, but she's not sure about it. So, it reminded me a lot of actually kind of my own decisions and a lot of what was going on in my life, which was, I really liked it. It has nothing to do with, I don't care if it's the story of a young lady or man or non-binary or anything. It's just one of these stories that a lot of my friends growing up in New England had. So I like that a lot. So that's kind of a little bit of backstory. So keep going.
What does she even do all day?
I don't know, but it's good she does, or we'd be out on the street.
I paid the mortgage, Linda.
Great. What about the power, the car insurance, the credit card?
Yeah, where is the credit card?
My credit card?
Our credit card.
What time'd you get in?
Oh, come on, you just.
And that's the first clip, you know. So I just wanted to capture that salty New England vibe.
Yeah,
that
the
kind of
cad, the credit
class.
cad.
That's a real Rhode Island accent.
I loved
you
it.
drive 30 minutes east of me, those people actually start talking like that. The accent starts changing and they start talking like this. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
The mom and dad were awesome.
They were really awesome.
The interesting thing is that the female lead, Vic McQueen, she's actually Australian. She's in the marvelous Mrs. Not Mrs. Maisel. Sorry, she's in that show about the detective. Because I said to Jack, I know her.
Oh, really? I didn't even recognize her. Yeah.
Yeah, she's an Aussie. I
didn't even know that. I'm so weird that I don't even look those kind of things up.
Hey, 30 Days.
But no, this to me, because we're talking about kind of why, you know, I like the show, this is what really captured me. And honestly, the first couple episodes, folks, you're going to get a lot of this kind of teenage drama, like college application drama and like, Dad, how do we handle financial aid? Which, you know, it's a lot of audience, you know, can relate to that, but you have to get through a couple of those episodes. I didn't really like that early. I wanted to really, really get into the fantasy, but this environment really appealed to me. So that's like clip 1. We go to clip 2 now, which is, you know, basically episode 2.
Stuff like what?
That played right for you?
Goddamn thing started by it.
So episode 2, like I said, now we're going to start getting into some of the fantasy elements. They're investigating this kind of magical car, and I'll talk a little bit about the car after we play the clip.
Stuff like what?
Goddamn thing started by itself. Yeah. Robbie'd say it was the crossed ignition wires. One day I come home and Robbie Jr.'s yelling, "Grandma, the car got Daddy." I come out. The goddamn thing has Robbie pinned against the garage wall.
I'm just to pause right here. First of all, music really creepy and ominous and scary. I like it. This actor right here, Jakara Smith, she wasn't an actor or anything. Where do you think the director found her? Found her from YouTube. She is a YouTuber turned famous actor. One of these cool stories. And that's another thing why I like this show, is that it's very homegrown. The director's on Twitter, very kind of progressive and hip, and you know, a lot of different shades going on. And she just came from YouTube. She's not a trained actor or anything.
Yeah.
They found her
And
right
I
off
think,
YouTube.
I think she's probably
great.
one of my favorite characters in the show. She's
Maggie.
so great. She's so natural. Like that's what I was saying to John. I was shocked that she's not an actress because she was just so natural.
Yeah, we don't want to spoil too much, but she has kind of a magical feeling, and that's why she's doing this kind of investigating. They're investigating one of the big antagonists. But just the story of, you know, how this show was put together, you know, because Creatives Guild, you know, what we do is, you know, we like to look at the production and stuff like that. And behind the scenes, it's just such a cool kind of homegrown product. You don't know. I think there's 2 or 3 actors on the squad here that they just pulled from YouTube. And now she's got a budding career, and, you know, all these people, you just hit them up on Twitter and they say hi to you. It's an awesome world. So it's going to get more and more tense as they tell the story of some of the victims of this antagonist. We're not going to spoil too much.
Mm-hmm.
Robbie said it was his fault. Thing rolled off its blocks. That car had a mind of its own. Yeah. One day I come home and the car is gone. My son is gone. So is my grandson.
That's the clip. So, I mean, already in episode 2, you're getting a dead grandson, a dead son. So, episode 1, I'm like, all right, it's college drama. It's like some fun. The lady reminds me exactly of my mother. Like, what? Okay, this weird situation. Okay, now we got dead kids, and okay, and you know, I mean. I love Rebecca's thoughts on the editing and the camera work there. I mean, that monologue,
amazing.
Monologue was it was terrifying.
Yeah, it was really powerful.
Absolutely terrifying. So I'm actually got chills just thinking about just what she was saying, and what happens to her later is one of the great things about NOS4A2 is if you're expecting a happy ending, you're not getting it in this show. It's very
I
much
had
like Game
a-
of Thrones.
This
There's
is
a lot
typical of me, but I was having problems at the beginning because they are kind of like going. There's a couple of different locations we're dealing with. So we're dealing with where Vic McQueen's family is, and then where we're dealing with where there's been this abduction of this little boy. So I get kind of I do the turn to Jack going, what's going on? Which is why sometimes it's nice to watch a show with somebody else, John.
It is. I know. Company is nice. This is like I was so excited because this is company. It's good.
Yes, I'm happy to
But-
have your company.
But you know, we also said that we said this before the stream started that I think Tony said last week that she gives season ones kind of a free pass sometimes,
Yes.
and I think this definitely applies at least to the first half of this.
Yeah,
season.
like you say, there's a lot of there's a lot of teen drama, teen angst. The other thing is the actress who plays, which now that I kind of know a little bit about season 2, which I won't say anything about, she's kind of older. She's like 27, and then it was weird for me because her mother is supposed to have been a teen, I guess, when she had her, maybe 18, 19. So her mother, the actress who plays her mother, isn't really that much older than her. So at some points I'm like, okay, I don't know if this is working for me.
I don't know if it's working out. Yeah, because season 2, I mean, it's a big change.
Yeah.
It's a big
So
change.
like you say, although compared to something like Cursed, which is the show that Tony and I were talking about, this is like totally in a completely different league, than Cursed.
Yeah,
Cursed is like kind of Xena warrior princess level. Whereas this, I would put in I don't know. I'm trying to maybe more of a Stranger Things or something even maybe a little more nuanced or sophisticated.
And that's why I wonder why it has. I mean, it has a big following, and like Sunday nights, if you hashtag NOS4A2, there's a lot of. I'm surprised that it doesn't have as much of a kind of a cult following yet. I mean, maybe after this season, I mean, or maybe it's there and I just don't know about it. But it's a great show, and if you're listening and you've never seen it, check out NOS4A2. I mean, it's great. It's really really great, and this is one of these shows where they can have YouTubers doing theories and it's one of those type of shows, where I think that you could really do a deep dive. But yeah, I mean, I'll go on to the next clip here. We're in episode 3 is the
Oh, here, John Harris. Sorry, let me.
yeah, look at you.
I have
What
to add it to
happened
the
to you? You
screen.
are the pro of StreamYard. This is great.
I'm
So now-
I'm trying.
You're doing great. I appreciate
Rebecca, by the
you.
time you come on, hopefully I'll have this. Okay, go ahead.
I appreciate you. So now we're gonna look at
It's kind of fun watching the video. I'm like, this is kind of neat.
yeah, and I hope I'm doing a good job not spoiling. But here we go.
No, you're
Here's
doing a great
Bing.
job.
Try not to be too disturbed, folks.
Oh, that music.
It's sinister.
Yeah.
So let me just pause it here halfway, just because
Yeah.
A, YouTube, B, to explain. This is Bing Partridge. He's the local janitor. He gets recruited by by the main antagonist to just kind of be the bitch. He does all the grunt work, and he's absolutely terrifying in the fact that he's going to be like going in people's houses and abducting them, and we don't want to spoil too much, and he's going to put this gas mask on because he has this weapon that I've never seen before in any show or movie, and it's a really ingenious kind of weapon, and it's freaking terrifying, this weapon. And you think it's going to be a big guy who's going to like beat you up and choke you out, and no, he's this quote unquote gentle giant that uses this gas mask
Although
and
there
stuff.
was one scene where he does, I was surprised actually because I was like, oh, I don't think he'd be able to handle himself, but he actually could handle himself in a fight.
Yeah, he's strong, and in season
Strong.
2, he plays. There's a new actor in season 2 that plays him. I think it does a much better job. Because season 2, he does take a more aggressive stance for sure.
Oh, okay.
There's
Because it's funny because I was mentioning Cursed because he's also in Cursed. He plays the Leper King in
That's
Cursed.
so funny because I was just watching some like B horror movie last night. I don't even remember what it was, and freaking Bing was in it, and I'm like, holy shit, what's going on here?
He's apparently
He gets
he's Icelandic. He's an
Oh my God.
Icelandic actor.
He's just this big, huge thing.
Yeah.
I mean, he's huge, and there's a scene
lumbering.
where he puts his hand on one of the character's face, and his hand is the size of the whole character's face. So he's
I've
getting
got
this get up here. The music's sinister, of course, very disturbing. So there's your villain. Darth Bing.
Yeah, he's like the Darth Vader for sure.
So imagine this guy creeping by your house. And I love this view from inside the gas mask.
Okay, stuff like what?
So yeah, that was the whole clip there. They kind of do a whole scene where they are inside the gas mask and everything. So just imagine this big creepy guy like being inside your house.
He's massive. I don't know how tall he is, but he's massive.
And yeah, he's the local janitor that just gets manipulated by a very manipulative character. And this character's whole MO is to manipulate people to basically abduct children and do very sinister things. And what Bing's weapon is basically, I thought I had it in that clip. I didn't. It's like this gas tank where it's this long PVC pipe where just like, gas comes out of it and it knocks people out. So he puts this gas mask on and just sneaks up by people's bed and just turns the gas on. And
yeah, like Jack was saying, because he's a janitor, he would have access to those types of chemicals. And also, it did remind me a little bit like, A Country for Old Men. Like it kind of reminded me of that type of villain that was in No Country for Old Men, like except in that case he used a cattle, so just kind of like a super creepy weapon that he uses.
It's very creepy, and when you see like any character's face when those vapors go on and they're falling asleep, it just brings a sense of dread. Like, what is this guy gonna do next? And he does some fucked up stuff like after, and he's a crazy character, and that's why a couple of my clips are going to focus on Bing, because I think it's not too spoilery, but it also introduces a whole different element. Like there's like 4, 5, 6 different character arcs going on here. I mean, Bing has a huge arc in season 2. There's flashbacks. I think there's a whole episode devoted to a Bing flashback, like when he was a kid. So this is an important character. This is how a lot of the dirty work gets done and all of that. So were you scared of Bing? Did you pity him at all?
Oh, I did pity him.
Because
when in the flashback scenes for sure. And actually it's interesting because Charlie, who you'll get to, he talks about these children and how they've got terrible parents and he's rescuing them. And meanwhile, Bing would have been one of those children, right? Although I did say to Jack, but why doesn't he go after children who are really experiencing horrific childhoods like Bing did versus these kids who maybe get denied candy or something, or they have a mother has a sleepover with a guy, or you know what I mean? Like they didn't seem to be terribly awful. Like just maybe.
Well, I think that's the thing. It's such an ad hoc explanation that Charlie he's so good at coming up with an explanation at any time. I don't want to spoil it, but this villain is so manipulative and so conniving, and even when he wasn't a supernatural being, like sort of we get into his backstory a little bit in season 1, and you'll see a clip from his backstory. Even when he was quote unquote human, he was very good at bullshitting and stuff like that. So I think you could get any kid and Charlie will be able to convince Bing that he's doing a good job, and Bing maybe starts to figure it out in season 2, maybe doesn't, but I think Zachary Quinto's acting is really good in that regard too. I mean, he could convince me to do anything. So this is episode 4, folks. Again, we're just breezing through the season. Now we get that view of Christmas Land. I don't want to spoil you too much. Here's that Charlie Menck's character we're talking about. This is our villain. Our supernatural villain. He's got a kid here. I'll just kind of play and pause and let you kind of see the horror of Christmas Land.
I've never seen so many lights.
Just wait till they get inside.
You're not coming?
Alas, I must bid you adieu. But But have no fear, my child. You have plenty of friends in Christmas land.
See, right there, right there. I mean, that's one of his explanations.
Mm-hmm.
And these kids have to spend a whole car ride from wherever they get snatched all the way to this mysterious land, listening to this guy explain, "Hey, you're coming with me to go God knows where else." And part of it is that these children, and these children, I don't want to spoil too much, these children get transformed into a darkness, and they're not fully transformed. Like, there's a light there and the inside, and part of the thing is, try to remember your mom. Like, remember, like, these kids are not fully there yet, so they're like, should I go to this Christmas land? And all they need is a quick one-liner from this Charlie Manx, and that pushes.
Yeah,
her
they're
along.
vulnerable. Like, he intentionally picks very vulnerable children.
That's what's so disturbing about this show
Yeah.
too. Is it's Christmas. There's abducting kids. There's violence and murder and college grants and everything. There's something
college
for everybody.
grants.
There's something for everybody. So
Taxes.
here we go. Oh, taxes, yeah. This kid.
We've been waiting for you.
Can I play that one more time? How creepy is this little kid? And that one-liner.
It's amazing.
That one-liner was so good. We've been waiting for you.
We've been waiting for you. They're for scissors for the drifter. It's a really fun game. I don't know how to play. It's easy. We'll show you how.
So right there, you see the conflict in this girl's eyes. Like, she's got scissors in Christmas land. Like, they've got this teeth. And right now in episode 4, you don't know what the hell's going on. Like, that quick little explanation I gave would be something that you could sit on the couch and think in your head. That's not a spoiler. Like, you could think, what the hell is going on? And what the hell is going on here? Like, this little girl is getting this present of scissors, and what is... and this fucker.
Oh, here. He's proud papa.
Boom. There you go. And forgive my F-bombs, folks, if you know me or not. John DelVento, I might drop a few F-bombs here.
John, I'm eating chocolate, by the way. Jack just came back, and he brought me this giant dark chocolate bar.
Oh, as a kid gets abducted in Christmas
I'm
land.
sitting here eating.
You're eating dark chocolate. What if all this fantasy fandom turned us into?
Oh, I'm totally desensitized.
Well, I'm going to cheers
violence.
to some dark chocolate cold brew
Cheers.
coffee. There we go.
Here's my drink too. Cheers. Yeah, no, I'm totally desensitized to it. I can just sit there and eat and watch.
So you've been doing
violence
keto.
unfolds.
You've been doing keto for quite a while, huh?
I've been
liking
doing it. Yeah, it's been a year
That's great. No, it's
since
great.
I started it. So this is 85% dark. So it has a tiny little bit of sugar in it, but
Bam. Well, Charlie Manx's candy of choice is the candy cane.
yeah.
that's what he likes to get the kids is candy canes.
Well, they use that symbol really early too with the first child, right? Like he leaves it on the front doorstep.
Well, yeah, because, and I don't want to, there's no spoiler here. In season 2, there's an answer for why candy canes are used as well, which is really cool.
Okay.
It's almost like a Harry Potter-esque kind of concept. So
I'm probably this weekend going to start watching season 2. I said to Jack, we should watch season 2.
Oh, it's so much more cohesive. I think they obviously got a lot more money, clearly, because, they have a new writer for each episode. They have a new producer for each episode. It seems to be much more organized, and the storyline's great. They really lean heavily on Zachary Quinto's acting. It's a much more straightforward narrative.
Yeah, he's a great actor.
It reminds me of Wayward Pines, which is another one of these AMC shows. I have a thing for AMC. I don't know, because it's quality TV.
That's the same directors as oh my god, I just lost it.
Well, it's the same thing, like 2 seasons to tell a story. You know, the first season was like all over the place, and then second season they tightened it and it was based off a book. Like Wayward Pines is based off a book.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Wayward Pines is the same director as Stranger Things. Same directors.
Really?
It's the brothers. Yeah. So that's interesting because, again, they're huge Stephen King fans. And, we're channeling a lot of Stephen King. So, and he's really hot right now, too. So,
I guess, and I'm good with music and narrative and acting and stuff, but I don't know exactly what it is about Stephen King's type of horror that makes that, I don't know if trope is the right word, that makes that so popular that I'm just shouting out things like Wayward Pines out of nowhere and it just happens to be tied into Stephen King. I'm like, is that the type of horror that us Westerners have gotten attuned to? Or is that...
Well, I think... It's like definitely, it was really hot in the 80s. And I think, and now there's been sort of like a resurgence of it.
And the thing is, like, what is it? And this is, Rebecca would be good. Like, what is it about Stephen King's form of horror? Is it the kids? Is it like the pedos?
He creates this sense of isolation, this sense of, I think being vulnerable. And then also there's something about it in the summertime. Like I remember when I was a kid, like in my teens, and I went to see Cujo and I went to see Carrie and all these movies, or, Pet Sematary, The Dead Zone.
God.
It was always in the summer. We go see, let's go see a Stephen King movie in the summer.
Stephen King's summer blockbuster.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going to go to episode 5, folks. Halfway through. Now we're going to learn about this car. And then I know you got some slides, too. Maybe you want to talk about the car. But this car is basically, not the, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a lot of mystical, magical power in this car. And this
it's a beautiful old car. Like, I think it's, 1930s? Yeah, it's a Rolls Royce.
1930s Rolls Royce.
1930s Rolls Royce, classic. Like, and it's in mint condition. But we do, we find out pretty early it's a magical car.
Yeah, and it has to be in mint condition for a couple reasons. And whenever it doesn't stay in mint condition, there's a symbiotic relationship that deteriorates, which is really cool. In season 2, they blow the lid off all this. All the questions get answered about what's.
So it's not like Game of Thrones where they keep everything hidden.
No,
maybe that's Westworld I'm thinking of, where they keep everything hidden.
You actually get some answers. Man, people are still hating on Game of Thrones, like season 8. Where's the answers? Like, there's no answers. Like,
no, I got that wrong. I meant Westworld.
Westworld,
they keep everything a secret. So they let you know what's going on. I love that.
Oh, they do. And it's very satisfying because some of this fantasy stuff kind of just eats at you. Like, what the hell is going on here? And thank God they answer some of it because now in season 2, the narrative is so much more tight, like kind of classic good versus evil.
So that's Maggie in the shot. And
this is Maggie. She's getting chased.
And she is, can we say it, that she's like a clairvoyant?
Yeah, I kind of said in the beginning, she's got like magical leanings. She knows that there's something going on with this car, and the car doesn't like it. So
okay, here I'll make it full screen.
Here we go.
I didn't pay for the parking.
Look at me. Hey, look up.
All right, one thing that's ridiculous about this show in both seasons is there's a lot of people that get run over by cars exactly like that, and they get right up and they're fine. Like Vic gets run over by a car like 40 times in this fucking series, and she's perfectly fine. She gets stabbed. She's escaping. I don't want to spoil too much. There's things that she has to escape, and like she's fine. I mean, I understand like the tough Rhode Island, like no one's tougher than a Rhode Island girl, I guess, but
she has some plot armor.
Or that leather, I don't know. Tell me about leather in the 2000s.
I love her jacket. Yeah. She's got that tough exterior.
Mm-hmm. The hair is kind of unkempt, no makeup, all that stuff. Like
she never actually. I was going to mention that if we talk about this later, is I don't think she wears makeup at all in the entire show.
Yeah.
which I love that actually.
I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
And you know, that's a really interesting thing, Heidi. Like
It's a choice.
a lot of people think a guy wouldn't like this kind of show, but I actually like seeing this kind of stuff. I think it's kind of hot. I think it's kind of badass. Like Maggie, like that's pretty kind of hot. It's hot to see like a magical, strong lady gets run over by the car, and like, you know, Vic McQueen straps on her helmet. Like, I don't know. I'm not being kinky or anything, but like, a lot of directors wouldn't push that angle. But Jamie O'Brien, like, that's the director. She pushes it.
Yeah, it's absolutely refreshing. Like we have one
works.
character. Because we have one character who is a lesbian. We have another character who's straight, and then they have a really great relationship. And so the protagonist isn't like your typical, you know, sexy. I mean, she's sexy in her own way, but she's not your typical, you know, every time there's always like a girl, she has to be dressed a certain way.
She's not like a 50s heroine.
Yeah, exactly. So she's you know, she's in her leathers most of the time. I was laughing about it because I said to Jack, you know, I said, even when she goes to a party, she doesn't change. She just sort of stays the same. She wears her jeans and her t-shirt. She always has some type of graphics t-shirt because she's an artist, and her leather jacket, which is a good leather jacket, by the way. I was like, I know they don't have a lot of money, but that's actually a really nice leather jacket. She might have gotten it secondhand.
Well, let me tell you, growing up in New England, in the snow, one thing you gotta have is a good leather jacket, especially if your parents grew up in the 80s. Like a leather jacket is one of the things. But no, these are good observations, because for me, I don't like when a lot of those angles are forced on me, in kind of when production kind of forces those things and it's too forced. But in this way, I don't notice those things. They're done so well. And that's how you move people forward, when you just you make it work so well. Like, she's getting, I mean, there's female to female oral sex happening in the public library. I mean, there's some awesome stuff, but they make it, the acting and the sincerity is so good that it's like, all right. And then in the next moment, there's like a magical
it never
thing.
feels it never
doesn't
feels
feel
gratuitous at all. Never feels gratuitous.
No, and
it feels adult. It feels mature, but it doesn't feel gratuitous. Like I was even thinking like about this show, with the exception of a few of those things, like I could see myself letting Leland watch it, but there are a few elements that maybe are a little mature. And even the gore, and that is not really that gratuitous either, I don't think. Like the violence. What did you think about that?
No, not in season 1, but season 2, definitely be prepared for that to really, really step up.
Oh, I'm going to be eating lots of chocolate then, because I love violence.
Season 2 is extremely violent. I mean, it's very, very violent.
I choose violence.
And what happens? I just wanted to make the quick point about how, I mean, they're always getting hit by cars and stuff. And you just, right after this, you just realize how much you hate Charlie Manx. And you have kind of a classic horror theme. You kind of a Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street, you know, very high-pitched piano. That's just a classic horror theme. And he's just got that smirk.
Heidi, hey. Hey, wake up. Hey, look at me.
And you get this feeling all throughout this series that at the end of the day, Charlie Manx and this car, you're dealing with magic. Like, you get this feeling that these girls they're trying their best to fight the good fight, but they're always one step behind, because this guy's magic. Like, they always try to move, but he's like, he could just run over and just go to his little magic world, or he could and show up in certain places. So there's this constant sense of dread, but you're rooting for her, but you're also asking, like, what's the end game here? And season 2 is like X amount of years later. And in season 1, you also get a flashback where there was like a girl from the past that tried to fight Charlie, and she didn't end up too well. And Charlie's doing fine. So this whole story is like, what's the whole purpose of this? So this whole scene, I like it, because we're halfway through and we realize, what the hell is this girl from fucking Rhode Island Village, I guess, is going to do against this magical creature?
Yeah, and she's kind of at the beginning, she's a little bit like Jon Snow. Like she's like, I don't want it. Like even though she knows that she, might have a duty, or she's told like you're the only one who can maybe stop him.
Yeah, and I haven't talked about that at all. Which
Oh,
is
okay, sorry. Yeah. So
Yeah.
she doesn't really want it. She's a reluctant hero in all of this.
There's a
She's
reason
a teenage.
she was choice.
She's
chosen.
a teenage girl. She's interested in getting into university or college. She wants to be an artist. She wants to get out of town. I mean, it's got those sort of typical small town things, like her parents got stuck in a rut, and she's her father. The main thing he's told her at the beginning is don't get married, don't have children, which is obviously an important thing throughout the show. And so those are her main goals, is to get out of town, make something of herself, go to university, and, try and have a different life than what her parents had. And so she doesn't want any of this other stuff.
No, yeah, that's another layer of the cake, though, isn't it? Yeah, and that term that you hear a lot is townie. And that's
townie, yes.
Yeah, and that's a big New England thing, is you're a townie if you didn't make it out of town. If you end up kind of staying in the town you grew up in, getting a job with Uncle Joey or something like that, which is fine. But, there's a stigma in some of these Rhode Island, Connecticut towns.
So, John, when you go back home, are there people there that you went to school with and stuff that stayed?
Oh, yeah, there's a good amount. I mean, my friend Sweatpants Willie, we used to call him Sweatpants Willie because he wore sweatpants all the time. He's a townie. I didn't want to say he's a townie, and he still lives in town. My buddy Jay. Yeah, there's a good handful that still live in town, just because in a lot of these places are just the old remnants of the old like immigrant communities, like the Italian, Irish. Like this is kind of the Irish family, like the mechanic.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of opportunities. They probably had a grandpa in the military at some point. That was probably the best job that the family could afford. So there's not a lot of options. Like college, for a kid in the 2000, they used to just push college on everybody. So, I mean, and this is part of the problem. The mom is like, you're not going to fucking college. I'm cleaning toilets. Like what? So this is part of the issue, is that a lot of these townies exist because that's the reality, and there's nothing wrong with being a townie, but in this show they make townie, it's like a stigma. But yeah, when I go home, there's plenty of townies, and they do fine. They get married to their high school sweethearts and stuff. They have kids, and the same
it's the same with my husband. Yeah,
the same teachers teach the same kids, and they all work at the same shops and barber shops, and that's they all elect mayor in 10-15 years. So it's one way to do it. I'll say it like that. Instead of
so that's sort of what's going on.
Getting your brain. All these kids want to get their brains scrambled in college and go all over the place. So there's that dichotomy is really big in season 1. Sometimes they overdo it. Sometimes I'm just like, oh, I don't want to hear this stuff. But
and there's a little bit of classism. They're sort of telling they're sort of
snobby.
A lot of that about the classism. There's one comment where one of the guys is like, "Oh, your parents are them. Like, you're really smart. How is that? Like, as though you can be intelligent and have come from a lower class family, like working."
That kind of shit. I mean, that kind of shit was like everywhere when I was growing up too. I mean, that's there was a lot of classism. I mean, in all these neighborhoods. I mean, everywhere around here, you have a lot of really rich and a lot of really poor, and like maybe. Middle class isn't really a thing anymore. There's lower middle class.
Okay.
There's lower middle, and especially in these areas, like you could see these towns. It's a lower middle class, upper middle class. So there's a lot of weird class divides, color divides, immigration divides. Like these are these strange situations that these kids find themselves in, and that's why it's probably a cool idea to show this to like some like 12, 13-year-old in the middle of the pandemic. You realize, hey, it might, maybe some class issues exist, but hey, you never know what you can do. So it's got some inspiring moments as well, which I really like, where it's like no matter what you can do, her parents are still happy. Like it's not like money is everything, right? Her dad's loving it. They have a great relationship there, and that was kind of like we didn't have a lot of money, but we're happy. You love your mom, Your mom pays the bill. Your dad's there. You know,
One
you're
of the
happy.
things, one of the things I found to be really refreshing.
She laughs at the rich people. Remember that? She's
Yeah.
like, these people
Yeah.
can't even clean. Like, it's
Yeah,
that's
they can't
funny,
even clean
like-
their own houses. One of the things I love though is that there's a lot of like gray area. So for instance, her parents, there's some alcoholism there or drinking. There's a little bit of violence. But it's not like black and white. I love that. Like her dad, like you really care about her dad. You know that he has slapped his mother around, but they even sort of say it's been sort of like, they're kind of like codependent, mom and dad, right? So they kind of are bad for each other. And so there's been this violence in the home, and her artwork has been one of her sort of ways to deal with that, which I think is a pretty universal truth, that when you have things going on at home that aren't so good, you will often turn to maybe writing or art, or in your case, John, it would be music. So I know that, I spent many hours locked up in my room, not because I had violence in the home, but just because that's what I did. Cause I was like kind of maybe a little bit of a weird kid, and I was like trying to find my way. And so I would just be locked up in my room, doing my artwork. And that was my way of sort of finding my path. And so I love that the parents aren't, these black and white characters, that they're actually really nuanced, and you really care about them, despite their flaws, which
you care about the characters.
You do care about them, and you root for them.
There's a lot of them too.
Yeah, and there's so many of them, and I was really surprised. And even like he was saying with Bing, like I kind of felt bad for Bing, because I was thinking, like when they do the flashbacks of him, you're thinking, oh my God, he's such a horrible character. But at the same time, you sort of feel for him because no one was ever there for him.
Well,
and you wonder.
You start feeling that for Charlie Manx, and like in season 2, you start kind of rooting for Charlie Manx, which is weird. Like I found myself in season 2 almost rooting against Vic Actually, season 2.
Yeah.
Vic is kind of a pain in the ass in season 2, to be honest. Like sometimes I don't want to spoil too much, but sometimes you realize, like, man, Charlie Manx, like, this kind of messed up morality. And there's a scene where it looks like stuff's going to fall apart, but Charlie Manx BS is this, he goes on this moral, ethical tangent where you're like, whoa, there's some deep things here. And yeah, like even this conversation now, it's making me see the show from different angles, that it shows that this show has something for everybody. Like you could see the show from many different perspectives. You could even be like somebody worth $10 million right now that likes this show because you can see it from that upper class family perspective. Like you could see it from the lesbian perspective if you want. You could see it from, if you're a janitor and you just like want to, like, you could watch this show. There's something in this show for everybody, like for guys, girls, old,
and
young,
and again with the
horror,
wealthy,
fantasy.
again with the wealthy, they don't fall into those wealthy tropes. They, like, not all the wealthy kids are assholes. Like, you know what I mean? Some of them are actually nice kids, like that one boy. And even her friend, like who her mom's cleaning her, her house. And that would be,
I like that relationship. It's kind of weird, but it's cool. Like that ditzier girl is kind of,
I mean, she's a little bit flaky, but she seems well intentioned. She seems like like she really cares about Vic, and she's rooting for Vic. What's that?
That party came out of nowhere too. That she just planned the party out of nowhere. Next thing you know, the dad's at the party, mom's at the party. I said, "Whoa, all right, this party just happened out of nowhere." But
that's kind of like, I think sometimes small towns are like that, where the parents will sometimes be at the parties. Like, it's just sort of, like I only lived in a small town for like 4 years, but I remember it being a little bit weird. Like people would just walk into our house, and I was always like, why are people just walking into the house? That's what they do. Or we come home and my brothers and sisters would have friends like lying around, in the family room
with the joint. No, I'm kidding.
Well, no, there was that too. There was, totally.
My brother. It's not like that movie Ma. You ever see that one?
No, I haven't seen Ma.
She has the parties. Oh,
yeah, I heard she's like a psychopath or something, though, isn't she?
She throws a bunch of parties for kids and stuff. Yeah, she's a real psychopath, but she carries the whole movie because I like acting, and that's why I like.
Is that Octavia?
I don't remember her name. Oh fuck, what's her name? She's so good. She's so good. But
So-
I'm gonna keep going if you don't.
Sure. What episode
because-
was this?
Right now we're on number 6, and you're gonna like this one because this is the flashback I told you about. We're going back to the 50s where
Sure.
we have some awesome
Okay. I can put
costumes
it on
and
full
stuff, and
screen.
we can get into Charlie.
Oh, and they have these
Mance's-
great titles too that they do. I love that. These
Yeah,
titles.
really. Just everything's fantastic. Authentic music.
Yeah, the production design on this is amazing too.
Yeah, I'm just going to pause it real quick, Heidi, because one thing I actually failed to mention this because my first clip I talk about context. One thing that is so good about this show, they get everything down to the details so right, but they make it feel like it's just today because it's not like you're seeing the 50s from this movie. You're seeing the 50s and you're going to see the girls like arguing about their tips and like you see their roller skates. You see the reality of it. Like they do a flashback of the 80s and you see like the cordless phone. Like they have to untangle the cord. Like they
Yeah.
get so many details right. They're at the early 2000s. They got the flip phone and she's got like no service. Beep-doop, beep-doop. That noise. Like they get
Yes.
so many things right. So in this scene, I don't know the 50s. I didn't grow up in the 50s. My grandparents did, but to see like these girls just argue as normal like hostesses, it was really cool for me because I've always seen the 50s in like this movie form. And to see it kind of colorized like this, and the girl's like, "Hey, cover my." It was just I thought the 50s everybody was just kind of fake, and hey, everybody talk like this. I didn't know that they were actually real people. So this show
Yeah, they had
really
a transatlantic accent.
Everything was just perfect, right? I mean, for summer.
Yeah.
But it just you
And
see
again-
the humanity, like
Yeah,
the
and granted,
loudspeaker, the
Oh, I know, totally. And the cars, the classic cars, and the colors, the ice cream colors that they use, like interesting mixtures of color.
Oh, yeah.
And the uniforms that the girls are wearing.
Yeah, so I assume that's authentic, kind of, right, Heidi? Is that
Oh,
like
yeah,
a
absolutely.
50s kind of? Is that a onesie? Is that a one-piece dress or something?
It's like a
dress?
romper, maybe.
A romper. All right.
I don't know. It's got an apron, I think, that's a separate piece. Yeah.
And I
so
love
it's
this
separate.
little
Choose an
table
adventure.
they attach to these are little
Yes.
details like they attach to the window. I didn't know that shit. How this
Oh,
stuff
you
works.
didn't, honestly?
I didn't
Oh,
know it. No.
See, I'm way older than you.
See? I just
I'll
think
make it
that's
full
cool.
screen. I'll make it full screen here.
Carla,
See, that's the kind of stuff you see the rims on the car, you see the gold
Yep.
Cadillac, you see the woman with the sunglasses and the onion rings and it's just so
Carla.
awesome.
can
You
watch
know,
my
with social
cars?
distancing, they should do this again.
One of my favorite podcasters was saying that because it's about economics. It's talking about how the economy is changing during the pandemic. They said drive-in movies. They're wondering why people haven't capitalized on it yet, and like drive-in stuff like that.
They
Maybe-
have.
Have
They
they?
have actually. My husband, my husband does AV. His client is doing that now. He's got these inflatable screens, and then you can go to these outdoor movies. And they're doing a quote right now for a film festival, an outdoor film festival.
Well,
So
up
I think
there,
it is
think they
starting-
got their heads screwed on a little more tight than.
Yeah, but I think these like drive-in type things with the girls. I don't know if you do the roller skates, but there might be a liability. Anyway, sorry, I'll make it full screen again if you want to.
No, it's and even just the I'm just picturing my grandma like looking like it's just weird. Like these are just humans, right? These are just normal people. Like look at the pavement, like the cracks in the pavement. Like these are these weird things I notice. And one thing I love in any flashback in this show, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and even in season 2, they go to like the 1890s. It's going to be authentic and brilliant and amazing.
I'll cover you.
Yeah.
There he is.
Charlie, I thought that you were driving your client some kind of bunk port all week.
A driver in their lives and a passenger in my own.
Boom, ever the bullshitter, right?
Yeah.
He's got a one-liner right there. He's got an excuse. He lied to his lady what he's doing, and ever the bullshitter. Great hair, by the way.
Yeah, it's like a pompadour.
Yeah, great hair.
Great
Zachary-
vintage fashions, though.
Zachary Quinto's got. Oh yeah, that's that. I call it the. Oh my gosh, I used to make fun of my What did I used to call? I used to make fun of my grandpa for having those kind of shirts with they were kind of soft material.
Yes.
And they had those pockets.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. We used to.
Well, we call those in wardrobe. We
porno
call those bound buttonhole pockets or bound. I'm not sure. Bound buttonhole pockets. But I'm not really sure what maybe the proper name is, and that's a notch collar, open.
My
notch
gramps
collar.
used to wear them all the time.
Yeah.
I would make fun of them because they were kind of soft. You know,
They're soft.
you
Yeah.
would rub them. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's no way to spend a week, Joe. Or a life.
So that's the whole clip right there, and
Yeah.
That's episode 6. We move on now to episode 7.
Yeah, so that's the villain. We're just sort of learning a bit more about him in a flashback scene there.
Yeah, and it's just kind of just showing again why I love this series so much.
Mm-hmm.
You get a lot of the backstory of the villain, kind of what he's talking about. You see that he has that car, so you start to make these connections. There's a lot of breadcrumbs. Like you see this car, you see the car has a mind of its own. Like in episode 2, there was already a woman talking about dying kids. So you're not going to be able to figure anything out yet here by episode 7, but you're going to get enough backstory. And now this is pretty sinister here. Now it starts to get kind of dreadful, really.
Hello.
Come visit us in Christmas Land, Vic McQueen. Take your bridge and bring us something to eat.
Who the hell is this? Is Haley with you? If you so much as touch a hair on her head, so help
Haley
me
is my
God.
friend, you dumb cow. She's right here with me. Come to Christmas Land. Father hasn't been here in ages. We are waiting for you, and we are hungry. Cat got your tongue.
So right there, just to pause real quick, right there you get, I'm not going to spoil, but you get so much information about Christmas Land just from that monologue. And I'm not going to spoil it, but Father's been gone, we need to eat. You get a lot from that, and you get some clips of what's going on in Christmas Land. You see the terror on her face because, like I said, she's helpless. What's she going to do? Teleport to Christmas Land? Like there's this messed up elf like talking to her on the phone. She doesn't know what to do. I mean, this is just
Now the other thing that you haven't mentioned leading up to this scene is when the phone rings, nobody else can hear the phone. Only she can hear it.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah. She's in the bar.
So she's connected. Yeah, so she's connected to this realm or this magical place, what have you. She's sort of on their frequency.
And she's on another plane. Yeah,
she's on another plane. So, and the same with when she's at home. Remember, she's there with her mom, and she's like, "Mom, don't you hear the phone?" So they're tapped into her. It's like they've got a direct line to her.
And they feel threatened because apparently, throughout history, there are people that can access this world, whether they're call them witches or whatever, and there are dark forces that don't like people that can access these worlds. So you can call them demons or whatever, but that's the whole battle here. And she couldn't, she was the only one that could hear this phone, and she's looking, and no one's, her dad's there with the beer and stuff, and so we keep going. This messed up poem.
Poor old Vic McQueen. Her father.
Look at that. You get
the kids are great in this, aren't they?
They're amazing.
Now the little, I don't know if we maybe don't want to say, but the girl on the right.
Well, we did see her in an earlier clip. Remember, she was she made it to Christmas Land, and now you notice she's kind of transformed. She's kind of fully Christmas Landified, whatever that means.
Drunk her mother remain. Early motherhood awaits her, with no man to wed her, unless she can find it within to give thanks to her new friend and savior, Millie Manx.
Boom, I just want to pause there because, again, you get another great view of the phone and the lampshade and
the scissors.
You're going to ask yourself,
I just noticed that.
Yep. You're going to ask yourself, why is Christmas Land in this architecture? Why are they frozen in this time? These are questions that don't get answered till season 2. But, yeah, the scissors are there. She gave her name, Millie Manx. So just so many clues in this clip. I wanted to clip it because it doesn't spoil it, but it shows enough of the mystery of it. And you see how dependent these kids are on Christmas Land. So, you can kind of put the dots together. How does Christmas Land exist? What fuels Christmas Land? What's the symbiotic relationship? Why do they need more kids? You can kind of start putting the dots together at how messed up this world is and why it needs to be stopped.
Now, John, before we move on, I just want to tell you that the hairstyle that Victoria has, I had that hairstyle in the 90s when I went to college. I went off to college and I got that hairstyle.
Well, since you're so good at screen share, let's see it.
I'll have to find a picture of it. But I did.
Next week for Rebecca's stream, I'm going to hold you to that because I have a blue wrench. I'm going to say, Heidi,
and I don't,
picture?
Yeah, because I don't even think the actress has this color hair. I think they've colored it and cut it this way. I think her hair is actually quite a bit lighter.
So she's Australian, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
I know. So she's from, it's the detective. It's like this Australian show about a detective in the 1920s, but for some reason I can't remember the name of the show. So maybe Rebecca knows. Hi Champ 1. Got a new person. Hi Randa. She said I like that jacket too. I have a few new people in here.
Oh, that's Rhonda. Yeah, she is with me.
She's cool.
She is awesome. Yeah.
They have a phone in Christmas Land, and yeah, it's one of those old-fashioned phones. Everything's kind of old-fashioned, right?
Yeah, and these are the things we notice here, Rhonda. We are very nerdy, production-oriented people. Yeah. So we could take a picture we could do a screenshot of what somebody's wearing, and we could literally have a 5-hour stream about it because these are the details that, me as a composer, my whole job is to make a production better. And as an editor or costumer, any production person, the job is to make the production better in a way that the viewer doesn't really know. Like, so when you're watching these shows, folks, you might not actually consciously or subconsciously realize why you're enjoying these things so much. You probably barely notice the music. That's a good thing. You probably barely notice the set design or the editor. You might Google who the writer is later, but that's one thing. But what we like to do is pinpoint these silly things. But yeah, even something as simple as a phone, what it does is it creates a world. It creates a time frame. If
and there's a payphone. There's a payphone in the bar, which, do you even see payphones really much anymore? You rarely see a payphone.
I think I saw one of those silly Daily Mail articles. There's like one left in England or something like that. It's like there's one working payphone. So
because I don't know if I mentioned this in the stream. So the setting of the story is just slightly earlier. It's like 2012 or something. And I noticed it just on a newspaper or something at one point. So I was like, that's really interesting. I wonder why they decided to do that. And sort of a little bit about what you were telling me, John, earlier off camera sort of makes sense. Sorry, you want to go ahead with this scene then?
Well, no, what I was saying in that case is, they do kind of the time frame of the whole series, even up to season 2, it's like 90s up until 2010s, basically, is where we're going here.
Yeah, and then there's flashbacks as well.
Flashbacks to the 30s.
So it would have been they would have had to have tracked it, and they do an amazing job of tracking it.
And it becomes very obvious how old Charlie Minx is in season 1, even just by the way he talks and like the values he has. He talks about just the way he talks about women, like in a very kind of 19th, almost
it's very
Victorian
sexist
way. Yeah, so part of how they set him up is they want you to realize that he's old, but he's still here. So and you don't really think vampire. There's nothing overt here that says vampire at all. In 2 seasons, I haven't even really thought of the word vampire, honestly. But I mean, it's there. They got fangs and stuff. Like a vampire is immortal, but they really want to set up that this is an old character for a reason, like the way he talks, his car, some of his flashbacks. So that's also important. This scene here, we're in episode 9, so we're starting to get to some, serious action here and everything.
Okay.
So here's Bing actually doing what he does. Is he's a big guy that can abduct children, and there is the infamous license plate that says NOS4A2. And Bing is really good at this stuff. There's a kid in the trunk already. 2-for-1 deal.
Try to remain calm, dear boy. If you promise to behave, I'll let you breathe fresh oxygen for a few minutes. How does that sound? Now, why did you endeavor to attack poor old Mr. Partridge?
For what he tried to do, Vic. What you two did to hate.
So that's the clip right there. I'll play it one more time just because it starts with very sad music. Because, this is, Vic's boyfriend. And he's basically trying to rescue her. And, something that NOS4A2 does really well is it just shatters your dreams. Like, every time you think there's going to be a hero, they can never pull it off. And Charlie Manx always has that stupid grin. And it's just such an evil bastard, So that's why you have the sad music here. It's very depressing. And that kid in the trunk.
Yeah, this is
the kid. The kid
sorry.
is like halfway transformed already. So if you by episode 9, you know what that means. It's like this is sad.
Yeah, this is what I call the when all hope is lost sort of. This sort of they've like because he was very close to getting Partridge, like to getting Bing. We were talking about him.
This show does getting close so well. Like this show, you get so close so many times.
That's what I was saying. Like so, Bing without the gas, he's actually able to overcome being attacked by Vic's boyfriend here.
And what do you think of Charlie's kind of? This is like usually what he wears, like all the time. That kind of long trench with the gloves, and is that like an upper class thing or what?
I thought. Now you've seen season 2. I thought it looked like a chauffeur's uniform.
Yep.
But it looks like middle Victorian, like 1850s.
That's because that point becomes more obvious. Both of those points become more obvious in season 2. So that's
it's definitely a beautifully made coat though. It's got gold trim on it, and it's like a Melton wool, so a very dense wool. But yeah, it's beautifully made, and then he's wearing obviously silk vest and cravat and everything like that. So obviously, it's someone with some money. So I either thought he was being uniformed, like someone's put him in a uniform, and because at one point he's wearing a hat, right?
Yeah, that's his.
So that's what I thought. I said to Jack, I'm wondering if he was a chauffeur to an upper class family, but it's possible also that it's just an outfit he's wearing from the middle 1800s.
For that, you will enjoy season 2. We'll continue.
Okay, so we can talk about that after I've seen it.
Yeah.
And Bing's always in his uniform, like from work.
Try to remain calm, dear boy. If you promise to behave, I'll let you breathe fresh oxygen for a few minutes.
And Zachary Quinto is such a good actor. I just wanted to freeze frame at that right there. One of those moments where this is like, Heath Ledger level maniacal. It's just shower this man with rewards, with awards. That's all I have to say. And look at Bing in the background. Like, you see Bing knows that something's not right here. Like, and is he afraid of Charlie? Is he second guessing himself? Like, this is just such a good shot of what's going on. But Charlie is such a good villain. He's the best villains and Game of Thrones is so good at this, right, Heidi? Like, the best villains are ones that are so sinister that you cheer for them. And humans are just so messed up like that,
Well, I think in Bing's case, there's a couple of things happening. One is that Charlie's promised him something that he wants. And then the second thing is, I think he's also afraid of him because he's like, already told him a few times that he's screwed up. And basically he knew what happened to the original henchman, what happened to him. So I think he's kind of afraid as well. But then he does start to because on this is an example of where he's actually acted on his own and he's pleased Charlie, right?
Yeah, and he loves doing that.
Yeah, he's good. I think he knows he's good at it.
Yeah, and you get that sometimes from Bing, where he kind of enjoys taunting with his victims, and Charlie kind of punishes him a couple times for that as well. Like Charlie does have to punish Bing in kind of a weird way, like he's like a child, like he tells Bing not to.
Yeah, like I get the feeling
be
like
too
Bing
rough.
Bing is a little bit probably on an IQ level. He might be a little bit childlike IQ wise. Maybe he's never fully developed intellectually or emotionally. So he does come off sometimes like a child.
Yeah, there's something going on there, but just wanted to.
How does that sound?
Do that screenshot.
Now, why did you endeavor to attack poor old Mr. Partridge?
For what he tried to do to Vic. What you two did to Haley and Sharon Smith.
Boom. And you could just see the hatred. That's another great shot of the costume and everything. And
oh yeah.
so
he's got a pocket watch.
As we get to the last clip, which is basically, right after this, I just wanted to end things with a little bit of spice here, a little pizzazz. I didn't want to spoil too much, guys, but I think I towed the line of the spoilers pretty well here, but I'll give you a little bit of action here at the end. This is episode 10, last episode of season 1 here, where you're asking me why this is one of my favorite shows, is just because I haven't talked about it overtly, but there's just some great kind of monster scenes, and here's one of them. Here we go. Little fan fiction here.
There you are, you goof!
That's probably one of the first times we see a bite.
Yeah, I mean, and he says, "Hi, you goof." I mean, he gets whacked in the head with a crowbar. He's fine.
Yeah.
So you realize this kid is long gone, and
yeah.
The fact that Vic can't open this door is an Easter egg that becomes very important in season 2. That she could open the front door, but she can't open the back door.
It's kind of like a taxi. Like you can't go into the. I think you can't get into the back of the taxi.
No, exactly. And
from
there's
the front.
Even moments where they try to break the glass, and the front glass breaks, but the back doesn't. So it's one of these.
Yeah.
And by the end of season 1, this is episode 10, folks, you're not going to have any of the answers you want. I mean, that's what's weird. So a lot of these are Easter eggs, but like right here.
Yeah, now this is the Rolls, which is like, again, it's kind of like a magical car. So the car has, I guess, John, you said, no more in season 2.
Yeah, the car is very special. And, the car has a way to survive in a way that it almost feels like the Night King. It almost seems like the car is always one step ahead of everyone else. Like it survives in a way that it kind of always knows it's going to survive. Like it almost puts itself in these situations for the drama of it. But I think this car is like one step ahead of everyone. So I think the real antagonist is the damn car. But right there, look at it is. I mean, it's almost like kind of cheap Halloween costume, actually.
Yeah.
But you're right. These kids do a great job of the actual acting side of it.
Are you goof?
When it comes to women, nice guys finish last, New Carmody. Especially when they look like you.
See, there you go with some of those outdated values kind of that are all about Charlie Manx. And I also wanted to pause this right here because I think that's probably one of the closest Easter eggs we could let off on the last episode that a lot of people didn't notice is that figure. And it becomes
I didn't notice it. Usually it is some type of, what is it, an eagle?
Eagle, yeah. So this is like a gargoyle,
A gargoyle, yeah.
Season 2, it's very important. So.
Yeah, and the other thing I thought was so crazy is that the car is actually called a Rolls-Royce Wraith, and a wraith is like a spirit. But isn't that so cool? Like that, because I was thinking they kept calling it Wraith, and I thought that they named it that, but I looked it up, and actually Rolls-Royce Wraith was an actual car.
The actual car, yeah, it's the Wraith, yeah. It's kind of weird. But yeah, I love that Rolls Royce logo too. Looks good. Looks good.
The gun!
And that is the clip. We don't want to spoil it too much.
Yeah. That gun, was that one of the guns given to her? Because that's an old gun.
Yeah,
that looked like a German Luger or something.
Yeah, that was Charlie Manx's gun. That was.
Oh,
on
it's
the
Charlie's
ground.
gun. Yeah, so that makes
Yeah.
sense because I was like, how old is that gun? That looks like it's from the 40s.
I know, another great moment where there's so much tension. You don't like, are they gonna pull it off? And then, but yeah. So this is why Nosferatu is basically my favorite show right now. I mean, it is my favorite show right now. We're all coming, most of us, from the kind of the Game of Thrones community. We're waiting until next year or whatever, but I'm not going to say it's the same as Game of Thrones. I think it's better than Game of Thrones in many ways. It's comparable to Game of Thrones in many ways. It has some kind of low budget elements to it in many ways. It's got some high budget elements. It's got something for everybody. So you don't want to compare everything to Game of Thrones or anything like that, but that's where I think most of our community is coming from. And if you like that kind of fantasy, and if you like gray areas, and if you like strong females and stuff like that, which is what characterizes
and it's
Game of
great.
Thrones, you'd probably love this show. So it's my favorite.
Great characters. Really
And
great
amazing
characters.
Character development, writing,
Yeah.
an accessible director. I tweet the director all the time, and she replies, and I
Oh
compliment
my God,
her.
that's amazing.
Yeah, she replied. I said, "Great job on the music. How's the composer? Who's the writer? Who's the She's always tweeting at people. Her name's Jamie O'Brien, blue check.
That's so cool.
And that's why I like this. They hire YouTubers. They're a little more homegrown. They're kind of on Twitter and stuff. And I hope hope everybody enjoyed. I know that probably would have had a little more luck yesterday, but hopefully we get a good amount of folks on the rewatch here that can,
for sure.
take a look and enjoy Nosferatu. Spread the word. Heidi, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity, but that's my presentation.
Oh, well, I'm really happy you came on.
Top 10, little clips from Nosferatu. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you guys have any questions or anything, let me know. We always breeze through so fast with all the stuff we do. Sometimes we do go for like 5 hours, don't we? But we can probably go on for hours and hours because.
Well, one of the things, like I had Tony Teflon on last week, which was his first time us doing a show together. It was really fun. One of the things we were talking about, and I thought it was really interesting, is everyone keeps saying what's going to be the new Game of Thrones, and I really agreed with what he said. He was saying, I don't think there's going to be another Game of Thrones, sort of like how, we had The Sopranos, or we had, that was a huge show and everyone wanted to do gangster shows. And then maybe we had Breaking Bad, and then it was like about drugs or something. And then, then we had we had Game of Thrones, which is a fantasy show, but I don't know that we'll ever capture that magic again, but it might be something else, something different.
But here's the thing. Because I saw Game of Thrones from the beginning, and like, I always remember Game of Thrones wasn't good because it was this big fantasy show. It was good because it was the show where they showed a lot of sex and a lot of violence and heads coming off and like kids getting killed. Like, because in 2011, like I remember Game of Thrones was like, oh yeah, you want to see some boobs and like that, and you want to see some bloody, like that's why I think that's what Game of Thrones was. And I guess the nerds liked it for the fantasy, but I think most people like Game of Thrones because it pushed the limit. And that's what it was. It's like.
And it was funny because I remember like a lot of people were like, oh, it's a show for guys, but I know so many women who watched it and loved it. And but it was funny because years ago, SNL did this parody about this teenager who was the producer of Game of Thrones, because it was all like, boobs and, sex and nudity and violence. And it was Andy Samberg was playing the kid. Like he had pimples and he had braces and everything. And then I was talking about it one day. So I went to look for the video. It has been scrubbed. Like it has been completely scrubbed from the internet. And the only thing I could think of is that, I guess at one point they had Kit Harington on the show, And maybe they said, look, HBO were like, we'll let you have Kid on, but you're going to have to take that video down or whatever of Andy Samberg. But it was hilarious. And Rebecca's coming on next week, and we're going to talk about True Blood. And I was just going to say this. I remember years ago, this is just when my first son was born, and Jack had started watching Supernatural. That was sort of his show. And I was looking for a show, like, you know, when I finally got the kids to bed, or Leland to bed at night, I wanted a show to watch. And my niece, she was like talking about True Blood. And she's like, oh, I'm going over to my friend's to watch it because she's got HBO. And I'm like, okay. So my friend ended up renting it and giving me like the first season. And I started watching this. And the first thing I did is I called my sister-in-law to say, you know that Emily's watching this show? Like, she was 14 maybe at the time. It's like the first episode is full of like gratuitous nudity and sex. And I mean, I loved it because I was just like, you know, I just had a baby. I was just like, this is so fun. It was violent, but like kind of like ridiculous violence, you know, and just so much sex. And it was just so fun. Tons of sex, and it was just really, really fun. And so so for sure, like lots of women love Game of Thrones for the same reasons the guys liked it.
Oh God, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
I think the butts too. A lot of butts.
A lot of butts. It was funny too, though. But I remember when I didn't come into Game of Thrones. That kind of
stuff didn't really happen like before that. I mean,
no,
you had like movies.
It was yeah.
Like, you're not going to have another Game of Thrones being like, what did Game of Thrones do to revolutionize TV? Yeah, you know, big budgets, graphics, you know, good story, but
True Blood, which was on HBO before Game of Thrones, really in a lot of ways paved the way for that type of adult content. That's really what it is. It's adult content. And adults want to watch that type of thing without commercials, which is another thing, right? Is the lack of commercials. So, you know, just to be able to watch it unfettered and without editing. And so, or, you know, like with censorship, I should say. So I think that's, you know, sort of that those types of shows really paved the way for that because we're like, hey, we're adults and we can handle it. Whereas someone like my sister went to watch the first season of Game of Thrones, maybe the first episode, she couldn't handle it because of the violence. She was just like, I can't deal with that. And I'm like, really? Like, here's me like eating, you know, like, this is really good. Like,
no, there is.
Oh, poor Ned. That's terrible.
Yeah, there is a weird sense that when people see a fantasy movie, they kind of expect a certain trope, you know, and then you get episode 1, you're like, well, okay, this is not that kind of.
No, you know, you immediately have got like, you know, sister on brother action, you know, like it's just, you know, they're just like totally. Let's just throw everything, all the, you know, the tropes out the window. And I love that. I love that it was like not following any of that type of thing.
Yeah, I do miss it. But, you know, it's going to come back again. The whole thing is going to come back again 2020. What is it, April 2021? I don't even know whatever the hell the date is. But when House of the Dragon comes on, it's all going to start up again. All these same
so Tony and I last week,
you know,
we touched
Teflon
on that.
TV is going to be back. Like I think they're going to bring the same composer back. I think it's going to be a lot of the same. Like the world is going to stay the same. You know, knock on wood. You know.
Yeah, I'm. I don't like. They haven't released really any details yet, except it sounds like it's going to be a Dance of Dragons, Dance of the Dragons kind of thing. So, which, you know, the Civil War, and Tony and I were talking about it, that he liked the fact that it's going to be the Queen, you know, would be very, very cool. I just read today, someone was saying, I hope they don't do the Mad Queen kind of thing. Like, if, you know, but I'm really excited about that show, and hopefully you'll be finding out more about it and who the production team is. I was saying to Tony, one of the showrunners on it is behind the show. What's it called? I was saying it last week. Okay, it'll come to me.
I'm not someone that does the IMDb.
It's this alien it's an alien invasion show that I've watched 3 seasons of, and I've lost it in my brain. But I love the way that I love the showrunner on that show. I thought he did an excellent job, and the way he treats female characters. So it'll be interesting. But what I did say to Tony is I will be happy to see if there are women in the writing room on this show coming up, because I think it'll be helpful. And obviously with NOS4A2, I'm watching another show called The Path that has a female showrunner. So, female showrunners, there's a place for them. So I hope that because the showrunners are going to be men and George is really heavily involved, I would like to see some women in the writing room.
Well, yeah, you have to have a representative.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, HBO, it's so bad. Like, there's been so many conversations already about the legacy of Game of Thrones, but it is just sad that how much the legacy did have to get soured by the last season, by the criticism of the writers' rooms and the criticism of it being rushed and not tying things together. Like, man, some of these things really were like the nail of the coffin. But yeah, the women in the writers' room is a big scar on the legacy of that D&D regime that, it's actually very transparent, which is kind of the creepy part of how out in the open it all was. Like, it just kind of, and I have trouble watching those behind the scenes and those after the show episodes, because just the way D&D talk, they're so hoity-toity about their contribution, and it's just there's so many more parts. Like they haven't done they did a decent documentary about like the last season. But
I love the documentary.
It was a great doc, but it was also
really
have
well done.
20-part documentary of the whole crew. Like, there are so many different people besides these two guys. But when
I love the snow guy. The snow guy, he was awesome.
You remember?
I love that guy. That guy,
all the extras.
Yeah, the extra Andy, the extra. Like, I love those guys. Actually, I think Carrie, if she's still here, she met him. I think it's Andy, the extra, who played one of the Starks. And he was actually in like some pretty pivotal scenes with Jon Snow.
Yeah, in my video that I have analyzing the music of the Starks, I spend a good time about Andy the Extra, because there's a scene in season 8 where they zoom into him. But there is so much more that goes on behind the scenes, and that's why I like the NOS4A2 director. You follow her on Twitter. Every week she shouts out a different member of the crew.
That's amazing.
She says, here's, like last week she shouted out the stunt guy, and you look him up, he's got like 20 followers or something. She's just these crew people. She shouts out the crew people. Here's the stunt guy of the week. And I got to stop saying that because I got in trouble for saying sound guy the other day. So here's the sound person of the week.
Is it Foley?
Well, no, just a guy. Sound guy,
Oh, well, I don't know.
But that's actually
sound person?
Yeah, it's not. Well, because people just always say sound guy, like who's the sound guy, but obviously there are sound.
You know what though? I say this is the problem.
I actually got in and where I lean politically stuff, but I don't really care about that stuff a lot. But I had to walk myself back because this one lady in the UK she reamed me out. She's like, you can't be saying sound guy anymore. I said, oh, I'm sorry. So
this is the thing. There's a really great guy. There's this really great guy. He is actually a guy who is like a language expert, like dialect language expert, I guess. Or no, it's not language. It's like more speech expert. And he does all these videos for Vanity Fair, I think, or one of those channels. And he was talking about like slang and how, people get all, and the way people use words. So for instance, something like guys, I always think of guys as being just a general, like, hey, you guys, like, hey, everyone, you know what I mean? So, so if someone called me out and I'd be like, what are you talking? Like, kind of, how I called you buddy or it's like friend. I used to work with this girl. She used to call everyone buddy, like even females. Or now you're hearing people call girls dudes, like, hey, dude. Like even in NOS4A2, that one character refers to Vic McQueen as dude. Hey, dude, are you okay? And so I think language, people have to remember sometimes that language does change and evolve. So when we say guy, I shouldn't be speaking for you, John, but I wouldn't personally have taken offense to that. So that's sort of, I know women who don't want to have women spelled with an E because it has men in it, but I always think of it being from human as opposed to being from, and then I actually read a thing that woman doesn't even come from man. It comes from another thing altogether. So this is the thing about language.
My pay grade. way above my pay. No, it's just funny because she was, the director she shouts out these, just crew members, the sound recordist or the mixer, the editor, and she'll just tweet at them. And that's that's the future of productions. That's where we're at. It's not
I
like
think that's awesome.
it's not the director telling you what to do and stuff like that. It's, you know, the director asking you, what do you think? You know, what's your thought about this? More collaborative. So yeah, that's the future of it. You know, we can't push things too far, but you know, we gotta move on with the times. And that's
Oh, Rebecca, I was going to say regarding writing out my niece, I think it probably had something to do with I had just become a mom and I was probably really sensitive. Like there's things I noticed that I like, this is really weird. But after I had my first kid, Jack told me that I wouldn't go out after dark. Like I didn't even know this. Like this is how weird things happen to you after you have a baby. He said, so one night I was like, hey, I'm going to go to Walmart. And he's like, excuse me? And I said, yeah, I'm going to go to Walmart. They're open till 10. He goes, what do you mean? It's dark out. And I'm like, so? He goes, well, you don't go out after dark. And I'm like, huh? What are you talking about? He goes, no, for the last 6 months, you won't go out after dark. And I don't know what it was. I probably was scared I was going to get hit by a car or something. I don't know. But so your brain is kind of different when you become a mom.
Mom biology.
So I probably was like, oh my God, I got to call my sister-in-law and tell her about my niece because she's going to be ruined because she's watching True Blood.
That is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's definitely something that happens to your brain chemically when you have a baby. So at least for the first year. And I think part of it is also maybe some psychosis because you're not getting enough sleep. Like I think I had a little bit of that. The lack of sleep. I think I had a bit of psychosis. So now I'm like, you know, my kids get up before me sometimes now. I'll be like snoozing. They'll be like, Mom, make me some breakfast.
Well, that's the thing. Like in the beginning of the stream, I'm like complaining about being stuck here in the pandemic. But in the back of my head, I'm like, people with kids got it very hard right now. But so I don't even like complaining. But
yeah,
you know, being with kids, you know, it's a journey, but it's a blessing.
Oh, Don, you'd be a great dad, by the way.
A blessing that I haven't enjoyed.
Oh, you'll have a kid one day.
One day, we'll see. One step at a time, we'll see.
Yeah. I was going to say, by the way, so before we wrap things up, I was going to mention this. So next week,
fun.
It was so fun, John.
Because I haven't talked to a human like this. Literally, I wasn't joking at the beginning. Like when you said buddy, I actually had a feeling inside of me that I haven't felt. Like I've seen, like I did something on 4th of July, but overall, it's like I haven't just hung out and talked about something that's not like music or work. Like I like talking about, but I just like
you need to do some adulting is what you need. You need some adulting in your life, right?
Well, it's tough. I mean, I live in a state that's a little more on the progressive side, so we've just kind of been doing things right. I mean, there's just nowhere to go.
Yeah,
I mean, the restaurants are closed. Everything's closed. There's no. I got, you know, our 4th of July party got cited. Like my family doesn't. So it's just like I'd love to do stuff, but it's like where I'm at, we're trying to do decent, but it's just it's getting crazy. But you know, a couple states over, you can go out and go party and like.
I just want to say hello to Kate and Lady Leaf Underhill and Sunflower Beth. Hi guys, welcome.
Yeah, I hope
really
everybody
nice to see
did
you here.
Well in the chat. We had a
we had a nice turnout.
Crew, nice cozy crew. I appreciate everybody. You could check me out on YouTube or whatever, but I just have my own website too, just myname.net. You can get my music and all that stuff, guys. I appreciate y'all. And Heidi and I and Rebecca have a side thing called the Creatives Guild as well. You know, we do basically this kind of stuff all the time. I mean, we do a lot of live streams. We're also been working on the logistics for new stuff as well. But we got a great thing
we're going to get back
and,
at that. Just so everybody knows, I've put John's links in the description. So his YouTube channel, it's also on the ticker there. And also your Twitter, which is a good way to get a hold of you. I think you're on Twitter quite a bit with me.
Oh, yeah.
And Rebecca.
I'm on Twitter all day.
And I also put the Creatives Guild link in the description below. So, and Rebecca runs our Instagram account. She does a great job of that, by the way.
Yeah, this is a good team.
So what the Creatives Guild is it's John, myself, and Rebecca, and we, John does the music, I do the costumes, Rebecca does the editing, and we take something and we kind of break it down, and it's really fun. And we have to do something again. You know what happened? Like I remember we did that. what was it? The the horror one? No, what was the last one we did? When we did Rebecca was dressed like a flapper. What was that one?
We did
That was so fun.
The beginning of the pandemic stream.
Yeah. Oh, that's what it was.
Quarantine stream. That's what we called it.
We did a quarantine stream. That's the last time we did it. And it was so much fun.
That's when everybody was thinking the pandemic was going to be. Yeah, let's all hang out. It was in March.
A couple of weeks.
2 weeks to slow the spread. We're all, let's have a stream, everybody. We're on there for 5 hours drinking, talking about.
I
know. We didn't have any plan at all. We just talked about nothing. And here we are in fucking July. I'm like,
yeah, we're still. It's August. It's August now.
Wait, is it August? Holy shit.
Yes, it is. It's August now. Actually, so I was going to say, what I did, because Tony Teflon, who was on last week, I said to him, hey, what do you want? It's so funny. Him and I having this conversation, it sounded like a couple of Canadians. I said, hey, Tony, what do you want to talk about? I don't know. It's your show. What would you like to talk about? Oh, I don't know. What kind of things do you like? Like, it was sort of like this. I think he wanted me to be in control. I wanted him to be in control. But anyway, in the end, we came up with this idea to do this top 10. And then I was like, oh, this would be really fun. Like, I could invite some of my other friends on. So that's why I have John on this week. Rebecca's on next week. I have a couple of other creators coming on in the next few weeks. So Rebecca's going to come on next week and we're going to do True Blood. We're going to count down 10. Like that's got like 8 seasons or something crazy like that. But the other bonus we're going to do is we're going to do the 5, I think Rebecca can correct me if I'm wrong, the 5 hottest sex scenes.
Whoa! All right, I'll take a look at that one. Of what? Of TV or all of cinema history? Or something?
Of True Blood.
In True Blood.
5.
Holy
We're doing
shit.
True Blood. Yeah, so it's gonna be the top 5.
Oh, so just the sex scenes in True Blood.
Sex scenes.
That's gonna be great.
Yes.
You're gonna be
I'm
doing
really
video
excited.
for that or just screenshot?
I don't know. I'll have to check with Rebecca. I'm gonna.
Funny.
But no, we'll do 10. We'll do like the normal 10, but she said that's going to be the bonus. So I'm kind of excited about that. Because I always just, really cool. I always just talk about costumes. So it's sort of fun to talk about hot, steamy sex scenes.
It is. No, that's the thing. Like if I just talk about music, all that it's like, oh, but if you talk about other stuff,
I like to talk about other stuff.
I'm looking at our last stream. Holy crap. It's actually been 4 months. Streamed
that's
live
crazy.
on March 31st, 2020. Quarantine stream.
Yes, Kate.
2020.
Kate, I am in Toronto. Yes, in Canada. Woohoo!
Yeah, we definitely got to do another one. The Creatives Guild views are not bad for what we do, but yeah, we'll get another one going soon.
We just have to find something that we all connect on. Like I know you and I had talked about, there was that other show that we really liked. Now I've forgotten what it was called, but wow, it was a solid show.
Well, no, we're going to start something. See, we don't want to spoil it. We're going to start something in August that's real time too. That we're gonna follow.
Oh yeah, we're gonna do some like a trailer reaction or something. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about that behind the scenes and then make an announcement.
Yeah, the Creatives Kill.
Yeah.
You know it, we're gonna be everywhere. You're gonna see a billboard with all 3 of our cartoons.
Yeah, the other 2 shows that we're going to do after that will be in August is we're doing Dark. I'm doing that with Justin, and I'm doing The Alienist with AU Packmule. And it's so funny. AU, his real name is John. He was like, last year he says, how do you have to watch The Alienist? He must have asked me once a week to watch The Alienist. And I'm like, fine, I'll watch it. And it's really, really good. It's actually really good.
These are all good creators.
They're on season 2, yeah. And Dark, which just has season 3, is amazing. So getting to sort of talk about some of my favorite shows, and I'm hoping to find someone who wants to talk to me about the Umbrella Academy, because that one I would like to do. And like as I mentioned, I'm going to interview the costume designer for that. So I think he's in Toronto. Speaking of Toronto.
Uh-oh.
Well, the show is shot, like it's funny because there's this... There's this one scene. Sorry, I know you don't watch the Umbrella Academy, but in season 2, there's this one scene, and I'm like, oh my God, that place was used also for American Gods. And years ago, I did a movie there as well. It's like this one manor it's like Oshawa, which is just outside of Toronto, and it's this massive manor. And every time there needs to be like a mansion or a great place, They always use that. It's like the one place, and they do
It's the
weddings
place.
there. Yeah, and they do weddings and all these, kind of like grand events at this particular facility. So I was just like, there's a bunch of scenes in Umbrella Academy. I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Hamilton, and like, I know they've been shooting around Toronto as well. So I was like, oh, I wonder if I can get a hold of the guy. But yeah, he emailed me right away. It was really great.
Hell yeah. Well, you have the biggest and best costume channel on all of YouTube, of course. Come on.
I think I'm like one of the only costume channels.
The biggest and the best, as I said.
I was like, I don't think there's any other. I mean, there's people who talk about historical costumes, but I don't think there's. And then there's Christopher. He's Clothes on Film. He has a blog and everything, and I've had him on the show, which I think I told you he came on, and it was an Oscar party episode with Tatiana, and he came on, and basically within an hour he had to go to bed because he was so drunk.
Really? Oh my God. On the live stream.
On the live stream, yeah. So he was in his kitchen. He was in England, and I was like,
"Did you play the professional card and say, how do we play this off? Am I just?
I didn't know what to do.
I didn't know what to do. Yeah.
You know what we did? We left the camera on in his kitchen. We just left it, and we just pretended he was there. Because what had happened was he was in England, and so he was like 5 hours ahead of us. And he told me, he said, I don't know how long I'll last because it's much later there. So we were doing this Oscar stream, and so he just was sloshed, and then he got up and kind of went to bed. And I was like, oh my God, what do we do? So Tatiana and I just can't. I think we carried on for another hour.
Holy cow!
And we just left the picture of his empty kitchen.
You didn't hear him talking in his sleep or anything.
No, and he never came back. So it was really weird. And then the next day he was like, oh, thanks for having me on. It was so fun.
What did we talk about, by the way? Do I have to send you an NDA or something? What?
Yeah, it was really
That's
funny.
funny.
But anyway, but
Well,
he has a really great blog called Clothes on Film. So, he does and he interviews all these really massively, amazing people, and he's very connected in that way. So, but we've become friends. So that's kind of nice,
Well, the niche stuff is important. I mean, it's there's more and more interest in this kind of stuff because people are realizing, like I said, it's not just about the damn director and the writer. This is stuff.
I was just gonna say, Lady Leaf. 30 Days was there. He said, yeah, he was smashed. Lady Leaf. Actually, I went to the Expanse and did a studio tour there, and got to see Ava Sorella's costumes. Just to let you know that, and they were beautiful, of course, because her costumes. I don't know if you've watched The Expanse.
No, I watched a couple in the beginning, but
you did okay.
Get into it, yeah.
You didn't get it, yeah. It's you know what it's another one of those.
For me to get into a show, I'm a tough cookie.
Again, I had to have Jack explaining stuff to me. Because Jack's like a science geek, right? He's always watching all these super geeky. If you guys don't know who Jack is, it's my husband. He watches all these super nerdy YouTube channels. Like I'll be like, oh my God, what are you watching at like Raspberry Pi or something? Or I don't know, something super nerdy. And he's always watching these geek tech channels. And so anything to do with science or science fiction, or space or anything like that, he's always like, like the other day he was listening to the space landing, those two guys coming back, Bob and Doug, I should say, which is the name of
space. People love space.
Yeah.
I've been getting more into biology lately, and that's my newest thing.
So 30 Days was saying kind of annoying all at the same time. So yeah, well, it's what he's talking about, Christopher being drunk. It's kind of hard to deal with a drunk guest. And it was funny because last week Tony was telling me he's had all kinds of different types of guests on the show. He had one guy who passed out while he was on air. Maybe he won't be appreciating me say that.
Wow. Well, Tony's great. Tony has a great channel, and
he does.
Yeah, he'll have anybody on and have a great. He has a knack for conversation. He has that podcaster gift to just be able to.
He does,
and just keep you interested for 2, 3, 4, 10 hours if you want. And I'm excited when the new show comes out and he can give his takes and his theories, because he's already developing cool theories about House of the Dragon and stuff based on the
Well,
books
I
and
was a little
stuff, 'cause-
disappointed because last week when he had him on, he said, I'm going to do a live stream on Saturday. It was supposed to be at 2. And then I went, and I guess he had to postpone it for some reason. So I never did get a notification if they were doing a new one, because they were going to talk about all the announcements and all what they think is going on there. Because I was asking him about it, because he's going to be my go-to person.
That's what I was worried about this stream. I think sometimes YouTube gets weird, because I saw that stream you're talking about and there was no notification. I just happened to log on YouTube because he did it last week. And YouTube there's no rhyme or reason where sometimes people get notifications about live streams, sometimes they don't, sometimes it says live, sometimes they get the time change. But no, Tony, there were a lot of people in that stream too, but last week he did a stream talking about House of the Dragon. But yeah, there was no notification about it, which is crazy. And he's the only channel right now that's at least trying to talk about some of the news and develop implications. And he has the book knowledge, but he also has the show knowledge to kind of put it all together.
Yeah, I don't
some
have.
Of his
yeah,
guests, they're just not into it yet. They're like, huh, what are you talking about?
yeah,
Tony?
I don't have the book knowledge. Like, actually, I'm going to order Fire and Blood. I'm gonna read it.
I
Have you read it?
Too. No,
Have you read it?
I don't have Fire and Blood. I have the World of Ice and Fire. I have the World book, but I don't
Yeah.
have Fire and Blood. I have to get it.
Now, Aaron, who's one of my queens, like my game of queens, what he did is he got an audiobook of it and listened to it, because he's while he's working, like he says, I listen to it while I'm working. And then I said, well, the only
people do that.
well, I don't know, but I said to him, the only thing is it's illustrated, and you wouldn't get the illustrations. But you know what they did? They sent them in a separate file, because the artwork is all done by Douglas Wheatley, and it's beautiful. The illustrations. Same with the World of Ice and Fire. Gorgeous, beautiful paintings in there.
Well, you know what? I love that George loves artwork. You know what?
Me too.
I was saying in Tony's chat last week, we were saying, imagine how awesome Game of Thrones would be as an animated series, because then you could finally have George's actual vision, because with animation you can do anything. You could finally have that huge Iron Throne. You could finally, and the animation now, like Spider-Man, like that, Spider-Man, like amazing movie.
No, yeah.
Like,
well, I actually
the Miles Morales one, I forget what it was called. Amazing animation. Holy shit. Like imagine the Game of Thrones animated series, like, because George likes the artwork because it's the only way that you could convey the idea. And even in some of these panels, they're like, George, is this how the Iron Throne is supposed to look? Is this how the Iron Throne is supposed to look? And George is like, well, it's close. It's always his answers.
Yeah,
it's not big enough. It's not big enough. Like, he always has this contrarian answer, but the closest one they found was this huge artistic rendering, and if
that one's amazing. I saw it.
Beautiful.
There's this one artist named Amok. I don't know if you like. He's done a lot of the artwork, and George hired him to do a bunch of the characters, and so he gave like Amok all these extreme, like really great descriptions of each of the characters. And so when I did one of my videos, I approached Amok and I asked him if I could use his work, and he's like, sure. And one of the things I have to say is I think I've emailed, it's probably been 200 artists. Like, it's crazy how many artists I've approached. And I think with the exception of only a few, everyone has said, sure, you can totally use my artwork, which is so amazing. And I had this one concept artist who is like crazy, amazing, like professional artist, who said, oh my gosh, Heidi, thank you so much for asking. Most people don't ask, which is true, right? Like, John, you probably know this as an artist, that people just will go and steal your art or steal your work and use it for their own, or, this happens on YouTube all the time. And I was like, just completely floored. But I had one person who said, I would love to let you use my art, but unfortunately George owns it and you'd have to ask his permission.
Oh, he bought it out. Wow.
So George owned
it.
But George is he is a huge fan of the art, of the concept artists, of the artwork and the fan art as well.
Well, Game of Thrones has amazing graphic novels. If you go to the back section of Barnes and Nobles, and you see it, there's these amazing graphic, and I'm like, oh, this is badass. George is he's a comic book kid, So I always thought Game of Thrones in 10 years, some director is going to want to remake it.
Sure.
They're going to want to avenge the
Avenge.
They're gonna want it'll be like Star. They're gonna want to avenge the unenlightened D&D. So I mean, animation would be a great thing.
I think so too. I think it'd be
They could
really
hire
great
me
as
to
an
do the
animated.
music.
Yes, you could do the music, John. You should send in your resume.
Sure.
I was gonna say that like Carrie yesterday, they're doing a book club on Dunk and Egg, which I think would be a great show, by the way.
I
The
love
Dunk and Egg
Egg
series.
stories.
And the illustrations in that are just beautiful. Like they're pen and ink, but they're they're just beautiful. So yeah, there's so many wonderful things that have come out of that. And so I'm really excited to see what happens with Fire and Blood.
Dunk and Egg probably be too boring for TV, wouldn't it? Not enough.
I think it would be really.
Not
I
enough
think.
pizzazz.
I think it'd be like it wouldn't be like a Game of Thrones. It wouldn't at all. It would be more.
Like
yeah,
Monty
it would be a
Python.
different type of story.
It'd be
But
like Monty Python, wouldn't it?
It would be maybe a little bit more like, but that might be kind of fun, especially if
I know,
there's
it's
humor.
Such a goofy. I love the accounts about my little lighting thing's falling apart. Whatever. I love the accounts about the beef jerky. I love it when George does so well, just describing things. When he would spend 2 or 3 pages talking about how tough their beef jerky is because they're just hedge knights. They got no money. They got this old beef and they have to suck on it for like 30 minutes before they eat it. And just those long details that George does that makes him so good.
It's like hardtack, which is like kind of like a food they used to eat in World War II or something. It's basically kind of like a bread that's like so rock hard, like you have to put it in soup or something I don't know. It's just like one of those.
Yeah, you got to like loosen it up before you can even eat it.
Before you can even eat it. Yeah. So the beef jerky is so tough, like shoe leather, right?
Yeah, it's like shoe leather. And just the accounts of like how dirty their swords are and how they got to fight for food and they got to boil shitty broth and they have crappy leather armor and they got to figure out.
I love his descriptions of clothing and armor though. That's pretty amazing. Like you can tell he's a total nerd and he has a very good understanding of everything. Not that I'm a historian.
No, I said that in my last live stream. I said, why do I think because I'm a history guy. I like history. I've always been a history buff. It's a very important part of my life. It informs my work too. I think any artist that knows history is always a better artist. And people wonder, like, why is Game of Thrones so good? Because George is basing everything off of basically real history. Like, he knows history so much that informs everything. The Red Wedding works because it's based off anthropology. This is human development. Like, the big wall, this is a human thing. So he was able to just... And when you read history and you understand what people thought of, even 100 years ago, like there were people that thought interracial marriage was like sin. Like women couldn't vote 100 years ago. So
even a couple of decades ago.
Decades ago. Like if you know history, you're informed so much about humans. And George seems to just have such a grasp of human history that's why his worlds are so cool. That you could have these interesting cultures because they're kind of based off of, like the Dothraki are based off like Mongols and Native Americans and Arab hybrids, and Westeros is like, you got your War of the Roses stuff. So that's why I love that he's a history nerd. I think any artist that likes history is always going to have better informed.
Yeah, and speaking of a childhood, his childhood really kind of informs his process because he grew up reading comic books and his parents didn't have a lot of money and they didn't go on vacation. So his way to sort of pass the time was through reading. And there was a really great interview. I don't know if everyone's seen it. Stephen King interviews George Martin and they interview each other kind of thing. It's an excellent interview. You get really great insights into the two of them. They're both sort of like George was, a conscientious objector, of course, Stephen King's kind of like a hippie. So the two of them doing it. Yeah. He even says, Stephen King, even when he talks, he still says, yeah, you know what it is, man. Like that's totally rad. Like he's
a hippie.
He's a total hippie.
Isn't that the one where George asked him like straight up, how the hell do you write so fast or something like that?
I don't know. There in that interview, I enjoyed it because they were talking about a couple of some disturbing stories that Stephen King had come up with, and one of them was like Stephen said his neighbor was a doctor, and he called up his neighbor to say, "Hey, like if someone wanted to eat their own leg, like how would he go about that, or something like if he's stranded and he's starving, what way would he be able to do that?" And of course, like people would be like, "What the hell are you talking about? Like." What are you writing? You know, and so they were talking about some of their earlier stories that were really disturbing, like always, you know, dealing with like rats, you know, human eating rats or something like, you know, just some super disturbing type stories the two of them kind of went through at the beginning, and also just selling their earlier works and how hard that was and just the process. So it was just like really one of the best interviews I think I've seen. So I really enjoyed it, and hearing George's, like, you know, his childhood and how that really informed the two, you know, informed his experience as a writer and why he is where he is now, obviously.
He's great. He's a very inspiring figure. Very good role model.
I was just going to say, guys, we're going to start wrapping it up, but Peter wants to know who is on your t-shirt. I thought it was Luke Skywalker.
Oh yeah, this is a custom shirt. So this is I have a group of friends that we see whatever new Star Wars movie, we go see the midnight showing, and we got a graphic designer in the crew that makes us a custom shirt every year. So this is
that's so cool, John.
We are nerds of various fandoms. So this is a combination of Lord of the Rings and Star Wars. So this is Luke Skywalker with Gandalf's staff in one hand and a lightsaber in the other, with the Lord of the Rings ring around him. And it says "Rise of the Skywalker, the White," because
that's awesome.
Luke came. So this is a graphic
and that's
designer
old
buddy
Luke.
of mine.
That's like old Luke, right? Yeah, that is very cool.
Shout out Kevin Lyle. He's got his own little Star Wars podcast he does. But yeah, I'm
so how many shirts do you have then that he's designed?
Well, I start these. This is a multi-generational thing. So the original crew has actually seen every single Star Wars since the 70s. So I got friends with so when I taught public school, I was the band teacher and the chorus teacher was next to me. So we just kind of, hung out. So he was like 15 years older than me. So he was from like the Star Wars generation. So he was like, "Hey, you want to see the movies?" So I got hooked up with him. So it's more like his friends and then my friends, and then it became this multi-generational thing. So it's like original Star Wars people with people that like grew up with the prequels. So we have seen so the first one I saw was not. Let me look up which prequel came out in 2001. Because that would have been the first one. Was that
Phantom Menace?
No, because that was in the 90s. Let's see which one it might have been. It was it was episode 3. 2005 would have been the first one that I hung out with these guys. Yeah. That would have been episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. And then And then we saw the animated ones. We used to see all the animated ones in the Lego ones. We used to see all the Lego ones in the theaters. And then when this new sequel trilogy came out, we saw
like
all
J.J.
of those.
Abrams.
So, J.J. Abrams one.
What's
that
your
would
favorite?
have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, basically probably 7 Star Wars I've seen personally with this crew.
Wow, that's very cool.
But Glenn and these guys, they've been going since literally the 70s. So it's a cool little tradition, and this guy makes a shirt at every...
Does he always do white on black like that?
What's it? Well, maybe it's just the lighting, but this is a green lightsaber.
Oh, okay.
It's got brown. No, this is full color. And he actually does that. His living, he sells patches at conventions.
Oh,
and
okay.
T-shirts, and it's actually what he does for a living.
That's so cool.
He sells like textiles at nerd conventions. Like literally, you go to the conventions and you got the booths. He's literally the Star Wars dude at the booth that sells patches and T-shirts, and that's what he does for a living. So he organizes these trips.
30 days he's taken off. Well, we're going to wrap up very, very soon. John, is there anything else? Any closing thoughts you have before we go?
No, that's it. I mean, this was great. I love y'all.
John, you're going to come next week and hang out with me and Rebecca when we do our smutty list, our top 5 smutty. What is it? What's the show called again? I've lost it now.
Be safe. Oh no, I'm actually just
True
trying
Blood.
to keep up with the comments because I see them. Yeah, ROTS is the best of the prequels. Yeah. I couldn't even remember the prequel name, so it's been even a while. But all I could say is the latest trilogy.
I like Rogue One. I think that's my favorite. I don't know if you consider that a sequel.
No, it was good. It was good because the story was good because it had like a linear. It had a good story. But the latest trilogy, we didn't like it. I mean, we went out because we see it and then we go out for wings after and talk about it. That's part of the tradition. And it's like 3 a.m.
That's fun.
None of us liked it. None of us.
The last one? You mean the very last one, or any of them?
None of us liked any of them from the.
Oh, okay. I didn't mind the first one too much.
None of them. Well, because these are kind of purists. You know how some of these Star Wars purists are.
Yeah.
From the 70s.
Do they
and 80s.
like the prequels though? See, I'm not crazy about the prequels.
So they don't like the prequels, but me and all my crew that I kind of brought along, multi-generational, we kind of grew up with the prequels. So I
grew
like
up
the
with
prequels.
the prequels, yeah.
I'm a prequel guy. I think the prequels are better than the sequels. I think prequels are better than the originals in some way.
Yeah.
But these guys I hang out with, they're purists, so they think I'm full of shit. But
I like Empire. I like Empire Strikes Back the best of all of them. For me, that's my favorite.
As a musician, I just think the prequels hit me at that age. It was something about the soundtrack that just made me.
Yeah. Do you know? You know that you know that that the guy that I interviewed, the guy who invented the lightsaber, that he worked on the prequels.
I didn't know. I did not know.
He was George's assistant director on that.
Shit. Okay.
Yeah. So we didn't really talk about the prequels too much, but we talked mostly about his work on Star Wars.
No. Yeah. So that's why I wear this shirt.
Okay, well, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up. So, like I said, but we're going to do Wednesday.
Great question. I love it.
Yes. We had to move tonight's show to Thursday because John had a power outage, and we're really happy we were able to do it. But next week it will be Wednesday at 8 p.m. and Rebecca Shadow Cat Bex will be our guest. And like I said, I'm doing this interview next week with the costume designer for the Umbrella Academy. So I'm not sure how that's going to work. Like if it's going to be a video interview or if I'm just going to interview him on the phone or what have you. So hopefully I'll have a video of that coming out. And then as well, I'm going to have the 4th episode in my Game of Thrones prequel characters coming out. So that will be the women's one. And that one's really cool because it's got Jenny of Old Stones and it's got Lena Valerian, who to be honest with you, I don't even know who that is, but but Lyanna Stark is going to be in it. So that's the one that's really exciting because I get to talk about Lyanna Stark.
No, this is good.
Yeah. She's because she didn't get much love in the show. I think that they weren't crazy about doing flashbacks. I think that's what I had read. They decided at the beginning of the series that they just didn't really want to have flashbacks, which is a choice, right? It's a choice that you make. Whereas obviously in NOS4A2, a big section of it is flashbacks. So that's just a decision people make when they do a show.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it really is, and because it's it's like sometimes
because we don't have Robert's Rebellion. We didn't have Robert's Rebellion, or we didn't have any. Yeah,
it's weird.
Didn't get to see any of that stuff. But
people think it's cheap storytelling, right? But I don't understand the logic.
I don't think it is. I like it.
I don't see the logic. While somebody
I think it fleshes everything out. It kind of fleshes out the story better.
Yeah. No, it's interesting.
So anyway, thanks so much everyone for coming. We had a nice turnout. We really appreciate everyone commenting. And it was really weird tonight because for some reason I couldn't see anyone's comments and I thought no one was here, which is really weird because you're like, okay, no one's turned up. This is scary.
That was weird in the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. But now you all came. So we really appreciate it. So thanks so much. So thanks, Kate. Kate's here. Peter, you're always here. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And 30 days, I think he had to leave, and Lady Leaf. And who else is here? I think, Rebecca's still here, I think.
Yeah, and
perhaps.
thanks for coming, Rhonda, too.
And Rhonda's your friend?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Thanks so much, Rhonda, for coming. Sunflower Beth was here. So thanks, everyone. If I missed you, I apologize. But I hope you all have a great evening, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Thanks for having me.
Peace.